opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out?
The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been.
You know, we all thought that everyone would listen to that song and everyone should know the lyrics to that song, and that's why we had it played 5 or 6 times before the show began. So I blame Scotty. He's the one with the computer. I think you're trying to sabotage my show, kid. I'm just,
The newcomer coming on.
the newcomer coming on here with his computer. You're freezing me here.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, Ron, but obviously this being my first time on, and I'm a type of guy, I find a way to screw like everything up, so that's just how it goes.
Okay, yeah. Scotty Mincher is in studio, and this will be the last time he appears in studio.
Start calling him Murphy.
Yeah,
He's Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law. All right, and the Mountain Dew dropper over here is.
I knocked it over. I didn't drop it. I didn't have possession of it.
Okay.
So it's a not,
So it's an incomplete pass.
You have to be holding it to drop it.
Okay. That's a good argument, Anthony. It's a very good argument. All right, we're with you till 3 o'clock. Brian Tolmar will be talking golf at 1 o'clock. First major of the season. Here we are in early August, and we're finally going to get around to playing a major, one of the 4 majors on the PGA Tour. The PGA is the first major. Normally it's the last. The last shall be first, as the good book once said.
We're in bizarro world right now.
This is true. This is very true. Speaking of bizarro world, the Indians scored runs last night. Wow. There's something new. The Indians score 4 times. Probably shouldn't have won this game. Cincinnati gave them a couple of runs, but hey, we'll take anything that we can get. Reyes hit a tie-breaking 2-run dinger over the center field wall last night. Indians beat the Reds 4-2. Pirates continue to lose, continue to not hit the ball, continue to struggle, and continue to be the Pirates. Yeah. It just is what it is.
Well, DJ said it on, I think, Monday. Their roster is kind of put together with duct tape right now, just trying to put a team on the field.
Well,
they don't have a lot of great names on that roster.
You have no Jamison Tyone, who, by the way, was pitching off the mound, throwing curveballs today. Or not today, yesterday. I saw that, and he was throwing him pain-free. So, who knows? Maybe 2021, Tyone comes back. I don't know how many innings he would throw, but it was good to see him on the pitching mound, throwing curveballs and not having any pain. That's all well and good. Chris Archer, who they gave up a crap load for, is out for the rest of the year. He's probably done with the Pirates. I don't think the Pirates are going to pick up his option next year. Although they might, because they traded away so much freaking talent for him, they might just to say, hey, we have to get something out of this guy before he moves on. We don't know. The rotation is garbage, other than the two guys that I just mentioned. Williams has not pitched like we saw in the second half of the 2018 campaign. The offense, you expected more from Reynolds. He's hitting under 200. Josh Bell is hitting under 200. Newman's hitting under 200. Tucker is hitting under. I mean, it's garbage right now. You have no hitting, no pitching, and you have a first-year manager who is trying to do anything he can to get this team to win some ball games. And it's not like the Pirates are getting blown out. They've been in a number of games. They've lost a couple of extra inning games. It's just you have no offense, you have no pitching, and other than that, hey, things good in Pittsburgh.
Right. The only offensive bright spot they have is they have the guy with 5 home runs. That's, I think, third in the major.
Yeah, Colin Moran is their bright spot. That's it. And he has nothing around him right now, which is disappointing because you would think Bell would have a solid year. Newman would have a solid year. Reynolds would have a solid year. And right now, again, in a 60-game season, this ain't 162 games now. No. This is a 60-game season. So you can't afford to be in a early season slump because you can get yourself out of a race early.
That being said, for fans of teams that are struggling, with the expanded playoffs, you're not in a deep hole yet. Because there aren't a lot of teams that are blasting off right now. I mean, a lot of second place teams are 5-5.
This is true.
5-4, and all the second place teams get in, and then you get the 2 wild cards after that.
Yeah, thankfully with the expanded playoffs, they're not completely eliminated from anything. But you better get on the horn here.
Start winning close games. I mean, the Royals and Pirates are both in the same boat. They're losing a lot of 1 and 2 run games. They got to do the little things, win close games.
Now you flip it over to the Indians, and they're a 6-6 team. Okay. I'm disappointed, obviously. Tribe fans should be disappointed. Not at the pitching staff. Pitching staff has been ridiculous. I mean, it's been solid.
Best in baseball.
It is. And of the 12 games, I think 11 of the 12 games, the starting pitcher has a, quote, quality start, where in the major league rules, I don't necessarily agree with this. At least 6 innings, no more than 3 earned runs. I don't think that's a quality start. It should be at least 6 innings, no more than 2 earned runs.
Well, Ron just came and rained on the Indians parade.
Well, no, I'm just saying a 4.50 ERA is not a quality start. A 3.0 ERA is. But, okay, I'll go along with what Major League Baseball is saying. Look, bottom line, the Indians starting rotation has been nothing short of spectacular. And it's a damn shame that the offense has been struggling from the get-go because, and Scotty, and you and I talked about this off the air, if the Cleveland Indians score 4 times in a game, they're going to win 90% of the time.
Yeah, and that's really the shame of this whole thing, Ron, to kind of piggyback off your point when you said that the Pirates, they don't have the pitching or the hitting. I think it's worse being a fan of the Tribe because you could say with the Pirates and with the injuries they've had, trying to put a team together with a glue factory, you could say, okay, it's a wash here. But with the Indians, the pitching has just been so dominant, and for them not to, at the very least, have a record where they only have 2 or 3 losses instead of 6 with this great pitching. It's really frustrating as a Tribe fan. I know historically they start slower under Francona if you look at since he took over in 2013, but I kind of, my biggest question coming into the year, Ron, it wasn't really the offense. I thought the offense would be pretty good. It was the bullpen, and the bullpen has been a really pleasant surprise to me, and I think James Karinchak, he's got future closer written all over him. So there are bright spots, but it's also been really disheartening that they're only at 500.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Karinchak is a guy that the Indians will probably look at in the next year or two to be the closer. Now, the guy that we haven't seen and won't see this year, acquired in the Corey Kluber trade, Clase, as long as he's not using horse medicine to make himself stronger. He's got closer stuff as well. He's got a wipeout slider and a 100-plus mile-an-hour cutter.
Maybe they can get rid of Brad Hand.
Well, look, say what you want about Brad Hand, and again, this was with 5 days off. Brad Hand was throwing hard again. He was back to being Brad Hand, at least for one night. He retired the side in order, threw 93 miles an hour, and that seems to be the magic number for Brad Hand. If he's throwing in the extreme low 90s or not even hitting 90 miles an hour, his fastball is ineffective, and that makes his slider ineffective as well, and that makes him ineffective in the grand scheme of things. But if he throws upper low 90s, 93 being the upper tier of the low 90s, he seems to be a more dominant pitcher. Now, do you have to give him 5 days off every time for him to hit 93 miles an hour? I hope not, because if that's the case, then just give Karinchak the closer role and be done with it. The thing I'm more concerned with, and I'm hoping that the home run woke everybody up. I really hope Franmil Reyes' home run giving the Indians the victory last night. It was an ugly win, and they should not have won this game last night. But I'm hoping that home run wakes some people up. We'll see. I'm disappointed in this offense, really disappointed. Franmil Reyes, up until this home run, was virtually a no-show. Domingo Santana, who I have high hopes for still, has been a no-show this year. Carlos Santana is not even hitting 200. Frankie Lindor can't hit anything with runners in scoring position, whether there's 2 outs, 1 out, or nobody out. He's been irrelevant this year. The only 2 guys that have done a pretty nice job, ironically enough, are the table setters. The Hernandez and Ramirez have both had pretty decent starts. Now, Ramirez has slowed down where he's an 0 for the last, 12 or 13. But up until recently, those 2 guys were getting on base. They just couldn't get anyone to drive them in because nobody else was hitting the ball. I hope last night the home run woke some people up and got people to stop being so tight and just go up there and relax.
And I'm hoping Oscar Mercado, he's a guy, he's started off terrible this season. If you remember, Ron, he had a really nice rookie campaign when he first came up last season, and it's just the case of you see it an awful lot. Guys, that second year, obviously the pitchers adjust, and they got to come back and make the adjustments in the batter's box. And another thing I'm hoping, I know Tyler Naquin is close to returning, and he's one of those guys like Bradley Zimmer. He's been hurt so often, but if he's on the field and in the lineup, he's shown he could be a and he may be their best. The Indians have gone with this platoon thing in the outfield, but I think when Naquin is healthy, he could be their best outfielder.
I agree with that, and I think Naquin has the ability to jumpstart this offense with some of the stuff that he does. Let's get to the phone lines real quick. Caller, are you still on the line? Hello? No, apparently not. All right, they swung and missed. So what are you going to do? No, I agree with you, Scotty. I think that Naquin is someone that when you see him in the lineup, he brings a little bit more energy, he brings a little bit more tools in the box for this team, and I think that when he comes back, Domingo Santana is going to have his at-bats be affected. It's a dang shame that Santana didn't get off to a fast start, because if he did, you would be looking at a consistent outfield of Reyes in left, Mercado in center, Naquin in right, Domingo Santana the DH, and then you have your infield of Santana, Hernandez, Lindor, Ramirez, and you got Perez behind the dish. That's a nice lineup when everyone is on. Unfortunately, very few of these guys are on. Now, in fairness, and we have to talk about this, in fairness, Major League Baseball, this is the worst hitting of a Major League Baseball year. And I understand we're only 12 games into it, even though we're in early August. The batting average right now is the lowest it has been since the turn of the 20th century, since 1900. Major League Baseball's batting average right now is .235. Combined, the overall batting average. That's horrible. And Anthony, you and I talked a little bit about when the season started. We were hoping that the game would be making the turn back to 35, 40 years ago, where strikeouts were not going to be as severe. Small ball was going to be played where you get them on, get them over, get them in, because of the urgency of the 60-game season. And it's been anything but. Strikeouts right now are at 24%, which is the highest it's ever been in the history of Major League Baseball. We have the lowest batting average since the turn of the 20th century, a.k.a. 1900. And here's the kicker. Pitchers aren't even hitting. Everyone has a designated hitter. And if you want to be in the argument of let the pitchers hit, just throw out these numbers and tell everyone, hey, 2020 Major League Baseball has the worst offense in the history of this game, and this is with the DH for everybody.
Extremely small sample size.
Absolutely.
Mind you.
Absolutely.
It's going to take these hitters some time to kind of adjust and leave their ego at the door and play small ball and learn they can just bunt hitters over. And really what I'm seeing is, man, these hitters have to learn how to go opposite field. They're pool happy, and they're rolling over and ground balls, and they're hitting right into the shift. I mean, I can't tell you how many ground balls I've seen where the infielders don't even have to move because they play it right. You're not seeing nearly as many great defensive plays anymore because they don't have to make great plays. They're hitting right into the shift, and the infielders don't have to move. So these guys just have to learn to hit opposite field.
And it's an amazing scouting report if you think about it.
It is,
I mean,
yeah.
when you have guys lined where the ball's supposed to be, and the ball is right there, that's an amazing scouting report. But to your point, Anthony, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I grew up in an era of the game where you didn't strike out, and if you did, you were going to throw yourself onto the bench because you're a non-productive player. If you're striking out a third of the time, you're non-productive. I don't give a crap how many home runs you hit. You're a non-productive player if you're striking out a third of your at-bats.
We saw the Indians-Royals series. The first game, the Royals struck out 18 times. The next game, the Indians struck out 14 times. It was strikeout palooza in that first weekend.
Craziness. And it doesn't take all that much to hit a ball the opposite way. If a guy's throwing a pitch on the outer edge of the plate as a right-handed batter, why would you try to pull the ball?
No, I get it. There are, with the shift, the pitchers are going to pitch you inside and make you try to pull it. But you just have to adjust. It's all about adjustments, and I think, these hitters are professionals. They'll make the adjustment eventually, and I think we'll see those numbers go up. Not dramatically, but we'll see it go up to the point where we can't say it's the worst batting average since 1990.
Well, I mean, here's the scary thing, and Scotty will bring you in on this. The scary part of this is, and it's been a trend that has been upward for the last 7 to 10 years, is the strikeouts. And again, from a person who's in his mid-50s and watched baseball in the early 70s and realized, hey, if you strike out 100 times a year, doesn't matter what you do, home runs, RBIs, and batting average, you're striking out way too many times.
I don't know. I mean, I would see. This is the thing. If you have RBIs, that means you're productive. That means you're scoring runs for our team.
I get it, but
If you have to sacrifice strikeouts to do it, I would take.
Yeah, I get it, but you could be more productive if you actually put the ball in play. And it's amazing that these guys are putting up some nice numbers if you're striking out a third of the time. But 24.
Some guys just don't operate that way. I mean, it's to your point, the change of the game. They're trying to hit hard, and if you tell them to change their swing, they're not going to have that average and RBI number.
No, I agree with that. It's just the times of the strikeout being up really, really high. Not only it affects the game, but it affects the time of the game as well. Everyone moans and groans about games being over 2 hours and 40 minutes, 2 hours and 50 minutes long. Well, if you have strikeouts, very few of those strikeouts are going to be good morning, good afternoon, good night. It's going to be 5, 6 pitches. That means that's going to be time consuming.
Let's stop and give the pitchers some credit. The development of pitchers. I mean, guys are pitching 100 miles an hour now.
That's true.
That didn't happen.
No, absolutely.
So the pitching has definitely developed, and these sliders back foot sliders that are just ridiculously hard to hit nowadays. I mean, pitching has developed too.
No, I agree with that. But Scotty, let me ask you: 24% strikeout rate. Is that one of the reasons why Major League Baseball might be a very unfan-friendly type of ball game?
Yeah, I think this is just my opinion, Ron, based off of the research I've done and the people I know. I think especially like the millennial generation, like people my age, when they talk baseball, they maybe there's a lot of people that are casual fans, but they want to see that long ball in there. They just love the long ball so much. I myself I'm in the minority when it comes to baseball because I've always appreciated a great pitcher's duel in the 1-0, 3-2, 4-3 type games. Those are my favorite type of games. But yeah, I think baseball, they're doing all this stuff to try to speed up the game now. You got the runners starting on second base at the onset of extra innings, the 10th inning. So they're trying to appease, I think, the younger generation, but I do think these strikeouts are hurting the game. If you look at fans, the fans that are 30 or under, I think most of them, they want to see guys hitting the home run. So I appreciate this pitching, but I think a lot of the fans younger than me or close to my age, they just don't. If there's not much offense or it's non-existent, like we've seen with much of the Tribe this season in the lineup, they don't like it. But I myself, I've never had a problem with the pace of the game. I consider myself a baseball purist, but I could see why they want to institute things to kind of make the game evolve and light a fire under things. But it's something that I think it hurts baseball, and I think the 162 game schedule, even though I don't have a problem with it, Ron, I think sometimes that hurts. I think if they went to an 100 game or even like they used to do with the 154, that could help a little bit. I love the 162 personally, but I'm just saying, throwing things out there as to why I think baseball, is not as popular as it once was. And to me, it's no longer the national pastime.
And there's some valid points there. I think when people start talking about changing the amount of games, because the statistics of the game are sacred, you have two choices. You're either going to play 162 games or you're going to go back to 154 games. If anyone does something other than these two choices, you've now made the statistics of Major League Baseball unsacred, and you might as well just throw the past of Major League Baseball into the garbage, which I'm not willing to do, because the game, and again, it's just my personal opinion, it is the best game of all the four major sports, and it's not even close. Major League Baseball has the best game. That doesn't mean that it is in the greatest condition. No, Major League Baseball is in the poorest condition because the fan base is old. The ideas of Major League Baseball are considered to be archaic, and other things going on. But you can do some changes within baseball, but you can't screw with the amount of games. You either stay at 162 or go back to 154. You can't do anything other than that. Otherwise, you throw the past and the statistics out the window.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you there. It's such a statistic-driven game and a numbers game. A question I had for you guys, you've talked about, Ron, that these are the lowest numbers we've seen since going back to 1900, and baseball as a whole only having a 235 batting average. How much of it do you guys think there was a couple spring training games early and then everything got wiped out because of this pandemic? How much of it do you guys think it is just having to kind of start spring training and then you start it all over again? Do you think guys were still keeping themselves in, ideal game shape? How much of the pandemic do you think has hurt the game?
I'm going to let you answer this one first.
I would say like maybe 30%, 25% of the reason is the pandemic. Or at least the bats I've seen, it's not a timing issue. And if it was a timing issue, I'd be more leaning towards, oh man, they just need to get back to. It's just like we said, it's guys still in this mindset of, I want to pull the ball, hit the ball hard, hit home runs. And in this kind of 60-game season, you got to adjust to that because you don't have time to have a 30-game hitting slump. So I don't think it's a huge timing deal in the bats that I've seen. So I'm going to say maybe 25% of the offensive struggles have to do with the pandemic and starting over and all that stuff.
I'm going to actually agree with you on this, which I think hell just froze over. But I'm going to actually agree with you on this. Look, the players have kept themselves in shape. The players have kept themselves mentally and physically sharp trying to hit the ball. I think to Anthony's point, I think that there's not enough guys that truly understand the urgency that Major League Baseball has put into the Players Association. You have cut 2/3 or almost 2/3 of your baseball season to where a win in a 60-game season is worth 2.7 wins in a regular 162-game schedule. So if you're on a 4-game losing streak, which the Indians were up until the victory last night, that's actually an 11-game losing streak right. in a 162-game season. You have to be able to play really good baseball for the most part on this 60-game season, or you're going to find yourself on the outside when it comes to the postseason. And to Anthony's point, the game of I'm going to hit the long ball, results be damned, if I strike out with guys on base, so be it. I'm going to pull the ball, or I am going to hit the ball as hard as I can and do it in the most comfortable way possible, you're just asking for all kinds of problems. And we're seeing the result, at least in the first 12 games of the season, 12, 13-ish type of games of the season, which, by the way, is about 20%. And actually, it is 20%. 12 into 60 is 5, so it's 20% of the season gone. And guys are striking out more than at any time in Major League Baseball history. Guys are not hitting the ball at more than any time in the history of Major League Baseball. You're seeing a direct result of what happens when you try to play 162 caliber game baseball into a 60 game season. The mindset of this game has to change, and the team that changes the mindset is going to probably wind up winning the World Series this year.
The Yankees, geez, their offense has not missed a beat.
No, and
except for Gary Sanchez.
Well, Gary Sanchez has been awful,
but he's never really a great.
Aaron Judge has been unconscious. Aaron Judge is going to come back to earth, and he's going to go into the valley because he always does.
Well, yeah, but what if he goes into the valley after like 45 games, and by then it's like, is it really much of a valley? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
true, but to your point, let's say that he goes into a valley for 25 games.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're talking about.
I'd rather have him in a valley to start the season.
Well, no, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And look, and to the Indians' point, and back to making this, all about the Indians, which it should be. That's why we have Scotty on. All the Indians have to do is score 4 runs. That's the magical point. The way the pitching is right now, and I don't know if this is going to change, and who knows, but if the Indians score 4 times in a game, 90% of the time the Indians are going to win that game because of the way this pitching staff has performed. Now, stuff might change because now guys might turn around and say, hey, we're going to have to do a better job of going the opposite way. We're going to have to do a better job of getting on base, drawing walks instead of striking out 24% of the time. If the change at the home plate becomes we're going to play small ball now, okay, now that pitching stuff goes out the window because they're not going to be nearly as effective. But right now, the way baseball is being played, all the Indians have to do is score 4 runs. They're the best team in baseball.
And one of the problems I've seen with their offense, and I haven't watched as many Indians games as you two, so I'll kind of see if you guys agree. Their pitch selection is not good. They're not swinging at strikes. And it looks like the Indians aren't going up to the plate with a game plan.
I'm glad you brought that up, because during the course of last night's game, I tweeted out that this offense is horrible, and one of the reasons that I find this offense to be unwatchable is the fact that all of these guys, to a man, have not come up to home plate with a plan. When you go to home plate as a major league player, hell, even as a minor league player, you have a general idea of what you want to do in your at-bat. You have a general idea of what this pitcher is going to be throwing, what you need to do. When I saw Lindor take a 2-0 pitch right down Broadway, a fastball right down the middle that should have been hit 500 feet, I'm looking at this going, what the hell did you expect? This guy's behind you 2-0. He's going to throw you a fastball. And he didn't pull the trigger. I was like, these guys don't even have a plan right now. No more than 2 minutes after I tweeted that out, Tom Hamilton said the exact same thing. So then I tweeted back, vindicated. Hammy said it, so now I feel better.
Hammy is scamming. Ron's Twitter page.
I'm not saying that he did. He might have. I'm just saying. But I thought it was pretty interesting that 2 minutes after I send out that tweet, Tom Hamilton is basically saying, now he said it more professionally than I did, which is the reason why he's a big leaguer and I'm here. But he said the same thing. It's not that these guys aren't talented. They just right now they by and large up until Reyes' home run in the 8th inning were clueless. Had no idea what they were supposed to do at the plate.
I had a question for you, Ron, in regards to the Indians the rest of the season. The Twins are a little better than I even thought, in my opinion, going into the season. That lineup is just loaded. There's not an easy out in the lineup. I was a little suspect, and I still am, of their starting pitching. I think they have a solid pen, but the Twins' starting pitching, I'm still a little bit suspect of it. But do you feel like because the pitching started off great and we basically over these first 12 games it's become a norm, like, okay, our pitcher, whoever's pitching, Plesac, Savale, Bieber, they might not throw a shutout, but they're going to keep us in the game, give us a quality start. So my question to you, do you think the offense, we've already seen what it is already, or do you think they can really come around and we can challenge the Twins here, or do you get the feeling the Twins are just a cut above everybody else in this division?
Okay, if this is what the Indians' offense is going to be, I'm gonna make a very bold prediction. If this is the best that the Indians' offense is going to be, they're not even going to be in the playoffs, because the starting pitching won't last that long. At some point in time, the starting pitching is going to look at this and go, we have to walk on eggshells. It's bad enough they're walking on eggshells now, thinking, okay, I have to go out and throw 6 innings and give up no more than 1 run. Otherwise, I'm not winning this game. Otherwise, we're not winning this game. If this is the best the Indians can do offensively, this team doesn't even make the playoffs. And then we have all kinds of changes in the offseason. That's it. But to answer your question, I think that the offense does get better. I think the offense gets dramatically better, because I don't think Lindor is a sub-200 hitter. I don't think Santana is a sub-200 hitter. I don't think Reyes is a sub-200 hitter.
Wow.
No, I don't think he is. I think Fredmil Reyes hit 37 bombs last year, and he actually hit 260-ish, 250-ish. I'm good with that. And I think that Reyes, and he was scratching the surface. I think Reyes could be a 285 hitter with 30-plus home runs. This guy, I am very high on Fredmil Reyes, but he hasn't played to the expectations. Domingo Santana, I have much more hopes for, and hopefully I'm proven right. Bradley Zimmer is better than what he has shown. I mean, the offense is going to be better. I think the offense is going to be better. I don't think the starting pitching is as good as advertised. I don't think that Clevenger is going to be Cy Young every time he walks out, because he's good, but he's not that good. Shane Bieber is good. He's not 0.83 good. He's going to go down a little bit. Plesac is going to go down a little. The starting rotation is going to go down a little bit. The offense is going to go up dramatically. Do I think they're better than the Twins? I think they've put themselves in a very bad position, because they're 3.5 out of Minnesota, and they're playing the exact same schedule. So those games against Minnesota are going to be huge from here on out, and they've put themselves in a bad hole.
And there's only 6 left. So.
Yeah, there's 6 games left between the two. The Indians are going to probably have to win minimum 4 to have any chance at taking Minnesota in the Central. And again, we're 20% of the season in.
That or hope for help.
Yeah, you better hope for some serious help along the way. Now, Minnesota hasn't played the Cubs or the Cardinals yet, and then again, neither have the Indians. So you're going to have to hope for some help along the way, but the Indians had better get to cracking here, because that 3.5 game lead, that's a big deficit right now, and the way the offense is going, I don't know.
And it'd be really nice, Ron, if we could get Lindor and Ramirez going at the same time. That's something that we haven't seen in quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
I'd argue going back to 2018 or even 17 when they had the 22-game winning streak. But it's just, it is frustrating because those are guys I think if they get going, that they have the capabilities. Jose Ramirez, he's finished third in the American League MVP voting in the past. They have the capabilities to really kind of carry a lineup. I think if they're both going, I don't think one guy could ever carry a team or a lineup, but you get both of those guys going at once, and we could be talking about an offense that looks much better here. But it just seems like even Lindor, okay, he's tied with like 7 other people for with home runs, with 3 near the top of the American League with 3 home runs. But it just seems like when guys are on base and he's up, I just see him pressing a little bit. And he's historically, Ron, and this is why I'm not convinced wholeheartedly that he's a top 5 player in the game or the best player in the game, because to me, when I see him historically, he's really struggled with the ducks on the pond. And that's why I'd love to see him sign an extension with the Tribe. It ain't going to happen, but it's one of those situations where if they could get a solid deal for him, I'm not like many fans that would be devastated to see him go. I think you get a good package for him, you build around this pitching staff, and then you go from there. Not to say they would definitely take a hit, the offense, but I'm not convinced that Lindor is a megastar. He's great, but I just don't know if he's elite.
I don't know, Scotty. I think, well, one, he's the best defensive shortstop in Major League Baseball. Period. Best defensive shortstop.
Andrelton Simmons would like a conversation.
Well, he
right
can
now.
come and have a conversation.
Lindor's good. I don't know if he's the best defensive shortstop, but he's pretty good.
Then also, I just don't think he's a middle of the lineup guy. I would much rather see Lindor in leadoff. He's a leadoff hitter.
But I think
he does a lot better as a. Ron said this on Monday. Cesar Hernandez, put him in the 9th spot, and then you have basically 2 really good leadoff hitters back to back in your lineup.
I don't want to move Cesar Hernandez because he's
this
thriving
mental,
as the leadoff hitter.
It's this mental thing, like, oh, the 9th spot is a punishment. The 9th spot needs to be your secondary leadoff hitter that can set the table for the top of your lineup.
Well, you definitely need, as a 9 hitter in the DH world, which I hate with every fiber of my being, but it is what it is. In the DH world, the 9 hitter has to be a speedy guy because you cannot have a slow guy on the base paths with the leadoff hitter up, especially if the guy hits one in the opposite or hits one up the alley, and you're trying to get that guy at the third base. Well, if you got some guy who's slower than molasses running around the bases, he probably doesn't score on a extra base hit up the alley. So then your leadoff hitter, quote unquote, even though he's not hitting leadoff, is standing at second base instead of at third base because you had the guy in front of him super slow. So the number 9 guy does have to be a very fast guy, decent average, decent on-base percentage in the DH world. But I'm not willing to move Cesar Hernandez out of that leadoff spot because he has thrived in that leadoff spot.
I would think he would thrive just as much in that 9 spot, and then he'd set the table for Lindor at the top. Because then the other thing is, Cesar Hernandez, he's great at getting on base, but he doesn't drive in that instant offense fear to a pitcher at strike right to start the game.
Yeah.
He's not going to pop one. So you're putting pressure on the pitcher from pitch 1.
Yeah, but you're only doing it for 1 at bat a game.
I mean, if you can, how many leadoff home runs did Lindor have last year?
3 or 4?
Those are big. Anytime you can lead off the game with a home run and send a message to that pitcher right off the bat.
I mean, I understand why Ricky Henderson was a leadoff hitter, because Ricky Henderson was the best leadoff hitter in the history of the game. A high on-base percentage. And again, back in the day, stolen bases were huge, and Ricky did it better than anybody. Just ask him. He'll tell you Ricky did it better than anybody, and he'll even say it, Ricky did it better than anybody, because he talks in third person. And he occasionally hit a home run. I think he led off the game with a home run 30 some odd times. So yeah, I understand the value of that. But Lindor can be a middle of the lineup guy. It's just right now he's not hitting. And to your point, Scotty, Francisco Lindor, for all of the quote great things that he does, which very few things are considered great. My definition of great is Hall of Fame. Lindor is not a Hall of Fame player yet. He's getting there, but he's not there yet. For all of the things that Lindor does well, hitting with runners in scoring position is not one of his best attributes, especially with 2 outs.
See, I don't know this, but he spent most of the time as a leadoff hitter. So what's his sample size of
200 plus at bats with runners in scoring position in 2 outs. He's had 200 plus at bats.
That's a pretty big sample.
Yeah, and that's he's hitting under 215.
That being said, why do you want him in the middle of the lineup?
Because
he's going to get more at bats with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, he's going to get it.
And his numbers say he's not good at it.
Which, with 2 outs, his numbers aren't good. In other aspects, if there's no outs, 1 out, he tends to do a lot better. I think it's 280 plus with 0 outs or 1 out. Just make sure that Lindor's not up with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. You're screwed then.
And I do like Ramirez in the 2-hole.
Yeah, I do too.
I like him at the 2-hole. Yeah.
I think Cesar Hernandez so far has been everything you want in the leadoff hitter and everything the Indians were hoping for. I think on paper, Ron, if you look at the lineup, because you guys were talking about, you were saying if Lindor's going to hit leadoff, you'd like to have a guy with speed hitting before him in that number 9 hole. And that's why on paper I liked Mercado hitting 9-2, but he just hasn't had the success that he had last season to start this year. But I just really like Hernandez in that leadoff role because there's more of a chance with Hernandez, the way he hits for contact. He's really good at making pitchers work and being selective at the plate. So it's one of those things. I think he gets on base. Then you have Jose, who's been solid in the 2-hole this year. There's more chances Lindor could come up with ducks on the pond in less than 2 outs. Then obviously that increases his chances of getting a big knock. I know you said he struggled more with guys with 2 outs and guys on base and runners in scoring position. I think that goes for everybody. I mean, Miguel Cabrera was a great hitter with 2 outs and 2 strikes. You have your exceptions, but I don't know. I like the lineup they've been throwing out there so far. I don't really have problems with it. I just think they just have to start hitting, put it together. But I even think that Bradley Zimmer, if he stays healthy, I think there's still quite a bit of a potential there. So I don't think the cupboard's totally bare. I don't think this offense is dead. I think there's some hope there, but it's just frustrating right now.
You brought up something pretty interesting, and to his point, Anthony, this is one of the reasons why I love Lindor in the 3-hole. Because if you have Lindor hitting between Ramirez and Santana, and all three of them are on, who are you pitching to?
Yeah, you got to pick your poison.
That's maybe it's unfair for us because of the small sample size. I mean, we've been piling on Major League Baseball, the worst hitting since 1900, collective batting average 235, the worst since 1900. But it's only been 12 games. Okay, 20% of the season gone. We haven't seen everyone in this lineup at some point in time hot. All right, Hernandez and Ramirez have been decent or better than decent for most of the 12 games. We've yet to see Lindor come on track. We've yet to see Santana come on track. We've yet to see Reyes come on track. Zimmer has shown some decent signs, but then has fallen back a little bit. Roberto Perez was off track offensively. We haven't seen Mercado get to his thing. I want to see Ramirez, Lindor, and Santana 2, 3, and 4 when all three of these guys are on, because
That's assuming that they're all three on at the same time at some point in the season.
and hopefully that happens. Hopefully that happens.
And let me agree or disagree. Francisco Lindor is the emotional leader of the lineup. You know, if he's going good, usually the lineup is going to be going good. Agree or disagree?
I think that there's some validity to that. Although I'll throw a name out that they were pretty good when he was in the lineup, and Tyler Naquin.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Naquin is a small role player compared to Lindor, but when Naquin's in the lineup, you can move Mercado up to 7, hit him behind Zimmer. You can move Naquin down to 9. I think Naquin is a better 9 hitter than Mercado is, because Mercado can hit the ball out of the yard a little bit more frequently than Naquin can, not by much. But you can have Mercado hitting behind Zimmer, which is pretty good because Zimmer's a lefty, Mercado's a righty. Now you've got Naquin in the bottom of the lineup. That's not bad either.
Okay, so back to my point. If Lindor is right now as the lineup is, he's the emotional leader of the lineup. So as he goes, usually the lineup will follow. Wouldn't you? Okay, let's just say, we need Lindor to start getting going. Put him in a spot where he's comfortable. Put him in the leadoff spot. Put Hernandez down to the 9-hole. He starts to get going. The offense starts to get going. Would you say? I mean, maybe Hernandez's numbers drop a little bit because he's not the leadoff hitter anymore, and mentally he kind of checks out a little bit at the 9-hole. Wouldn't you sacrifice that to get Lindor and the rest of the offense kind of going if Lindor starts to? Because hey, you put him something where he's mentally comfortable, and maybe he starts to hit well because he's back to a spot where he's been for his career.
I don't know if that is the reason why Lindor is struggling.
You don't know.
I mean, it could be.
If it is, you can't wait for him to adjust. You just don't have the time in a 60-game season. You got to get him.
That's true. I mean, if that's the case, if someone were to have a long sit down and say, "Hey, are you comfortable in the number 3 spot?" and he tells Tito, Sandy, whoever's managing the team. And by the way, Tito's not managing the team for another few days, and it could be longer.
Not for COVID, guys.
No, not for COVID. I don't want anyone starting that crap again. He's got some gastrointestinal issues.
He eats too many tacos.
Well, that could be. We'll see what happens. But look, I mean, if someone were to ask for Lindor, in all honesty, are you comfortable in the 3 spot? And he says no. To your point, okay, get him back to where he's familiar, even though I don't like him as a leadoff hitter in any way, shape, or form. But if he's comfortable as a leadoff hitter and you're going to get your 285, 290 average, all right, move yourself up to the leadoff spot. What do you do to Ramirez? Do you move him down to the middle of the lineup, or do you move Cesar Hernandez to the number 9 spot? Because for me...
Well, I would put Hernandez in the 9 spot.
Okay.
And then Ramirez you can just move everyone else maybe Ramirez can be 3, put someone else in that 2 spot, and then Santana can protect Ramirez in the 4.
Maybe you just move everyone up one. Santana becomes the 3-hitter. Reyes becomes the 4-hitter. Then who do you have at 5? That's it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. But I don't expect Lindor to be moved from the 3 spot, because I don't expect anyone to ask Lindor, "Are you And I would never expect Lindor to say, "Hey, I'm not comfortable in the number 3 spot. Move me down or move me back up to the leadoff spot."
Right.
But if this offense gets going, I think the Indians are going to be just fine. Can they catch Minnesota? I think they can. But Minnesota's playing unbelievable baseball right now.
The bad thing is Minnesota's kind of in their heads a little bit. They don't play well against Minnesota.
No.
They didn't play well against Minnesota last year.
No. They're going to have to.
They got to get
Minnesota is now the bully in the division, and it's time for the Indians, when they play them, to step up and win.
The Indians used to really struggle against the White Sox for some reason. Now it's all of a sudden it's the Twins.
It's the Twins.
And real quick, I just think not all of it, but a lot of that too. Like every year, it seems the Indians had so many injuries last year. You remember they were double digits down early in the season last year. And they all the way caught up to Minnesota and actually surpassed them. But I just think there was so many injuries in that rotation and in the lineup too, losing a guy like Jose Ramirez. I think it was just a lot for them to take on. But I still think you got to consider the Twins the favorite, but I think the Indians can make a run at it.
Oh, they could. It's just the offense better get going. And hopefully, like we said, hopefully this home run by Reyes in the 8th inning jumpstarts everything and gets everyone comfortable real quick. We got to get skedaddling because Brian Tolnar is going to be coming up in a couple of minutes. We got the PGA Championship coming up, first major of the PGA Tour in the COVID world in which we live in. Scotty, always a pleasure. You're invited later in the season, brother.
Yeah, I'll definitely be back. Thank you so much for having me as a part of the show today, and I look forward to talking Tribe in the future.
Yeah, now get that computer out of here. You sabotaged the beginning of my show.
I'll get it out.
Brian Tolnar coming up next. We're going to talk PGA with Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek. Stick around. Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
A new Wilmington
At
restaurant.
GM Lordstown,
telling more local stories
We'll look at
baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley
community in
afternoon.
Niles.
We are here in Youngstown, right up.
because you expect
Important for everyone.
No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
It's a Wednesday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Anthony Hartwig in the driver's seat as well. And let's talk some golf with our golfing guru over at Mill Creek. Brian Tolmar, our PGA aficionado, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on, Brian?
Oh, not too much. Just getting the rain out of here from the past couple days. Been busy, getting ready for the year's first major of the season. Just excited. We've got that. We've got the Vindy's Greatest coming up here in a week from Friday. So a lot of very important golf in the Mahoning Valley coming up.
Okay, before we start talking about the PGA Championship in San Francisco, let's talk about what is going on at Mill Creek. The summer has been absolutely phenomenal. Has it slowed down any at Mill Creek?
It has not. Had a little hiccup the last couple days with a little bit of the rain that popped through, but it has just been off the charts busy. Not only here at the main golf course, but down at our par 3. We just reopened our batting cages as well there about 2 weeks ago. So put in new pitching machines. They've got a lot more speed to them, so it's even been busy up there. But it's great to see all the activity here in the metro parks and all the nice capital improvement projects that the parks got going on. They've got a myriad of them that they just released yesterday. So that finished up, and then we get to work on our cart pass here at the golf course starting on the 17th. Be a 2-week project, and we'll have all the golf cart paths on the south course completed, something that was started here in about 2000, 2001, and then we're going to finish off the remaining 4 on the north course as well, 10 and 18 and 13 and 14. So we're excited to get those projects put to bed after it's been a long spring with the COVID stuff, but it's nice to see people again and be off and running. So it's been great.
Talk a little bit about the process that you're going to be doing for those cart paths. I mean, do you bring out a truck and they put some, they put some cement down? How are you guys going about that process?
Well, they'll begin about 2 weeks. It's a subcontracted job here at the Metro Parks as much as the capital improvement projects are. Basically what it'll entail is we will recondition the stone and base that's there. We will add 2 inches of aggregate in there, so we're going to build those up. They'll go over it with a roller, pack it in, and then they're going to put asphalt in the entire way around. Once the asphalt is completed, probably about the 3rd week of the whole project, they'll go in there and they'll put some nice soil and some seed in. So we've got the grass that comes right up to the edges of the cart path, and then it'll be in our hands to put the yardage stamp, much like what you see on the north course, the 200, the 250, 100, 150, and so on down the line. We'll stamp those on there along with our kids' tee locations as well. So yardage will be on the cart path. It'll be easy, so that way there's no sticks in the fairway, basically telling you where the yardage is. It's easy for our maintenance crew to maintain without having to get off the mowers and do that. But it's a process that's been a long time in coming. Just happy to be part of finishing that up, completing that, getting one more thing off our slate. As you know, we've done our bunkers the past couple years. We've done greens drainage. We've done a new cart staging area, new tee markers, new tee hole signs, new benches. So I mean, we're coming along and we're getting things done to make the place livable for another 90 years beyond the 90 that we've been down.
Brian, for those that are going to be using cart paths, and well, I'm old and fat, so I'm one of those guys. With the cart paths shut down for a little bit, how are guys going about using the cart paths?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to juggle our league play. Of those 2 weeks working on there, we'll push everybody from the south to the north, juggle the morning leagues. They'll basically come in at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. They'll be finished up before the evening leagues come in. So at like the 3 o'clock hour, will be normal business as usual. It's just a juggling from, I'd say, from 7 till about 3. Fortunately for us, we've got enough holes here to accommodate everybody, so it's just going to be a matter of where we put them. And from a cart pass standpoint, they say that basically within a 2-week period, starting on the 17th, just working during the weekdays on 2 consecutive weeks, they all should be in. So basically, we'll make some adjustments where folks will go around the cart pass. It's firm enough now that it's not an issue, but it's going to be a much needed project that really needs to get completed, and we'll have all of them done. Not just for ease and aesthetics, but wear and tear on the golf carts too. So when we get to the spring and the fall, when you do have the tendency of going on cart path only from time to time when you get some heavy rains, that'll be a lot smoother drive for the folks as well.
And high school golf has been deemed a low contact sport as of now, and as of now, it's got a green light to start. So, are you guys down at Mill Creek ready to be the home of some Valley golf at the high school level this fall?
We are. We've got 8 teams that play here from the high school level that call Mill Creek home. They started their tryouts and practices. I want to say practices, voluntary, where the voluntary practices about a week or two ago, and their tryouts have been up to this past weekend, and now completing to get their lineups in. But everything is good from a high school perspective. We've got everybody's tournaments and schedules all locked in, so we're excited for that aspect of it as well. And we're excited to give kids an opportunity to play because, I mean, a lot of the kids have been on the shelf all summer long. Some of them had the opportunity to play here locally with the Vindy's Greatest Junior, but a lot of events have been shut down, so it's been limited. So it's exciting to see them go back and play. And hopefully they'll get to do so, I think, on the 14th or 15th when their season schedules actually kick off.
Brian, before we get to the PGA Championship, you brought up the Vindy's Greatest Golfers. That's going to be coming to an end and coming to a head, if you will. You guys are in the forefront of this. Talk a little bit about the event coming up.
Yeah, it's basically an amateur event. It's for everybody's skill level, no matter what handicap player you are. There's different divisions, both men, women, senior, super senior. The Vindicator was the lead role in the tournament. Since the Vindicator's closing, it's taken on its separate entity. Todd Franco started the Greatest Golfer of the Valley. Basically, they dropped the Vindicator name, but we're excited to have them here a week from Friday. It's great amateur golf. We'll have the entire field here, which will be close to 300 players on Friday the 14th. And then what they'll do is they'll divide up between the area country clubs on Saturday. Those players will get an opportunity to play around here with lunch, around there with lunch, with cart, and basically try to make the cut and make it to the Lake Club on Sunday. So a lot of the area clubs, I know Trumbull Country Club, Avalon, Tippecanoe, a lot of those play a role in getting the players to their cut number, and about 100 players will end up making it to the Lake Club come Sunday. So, it's exciting for us to be able to host everybody in the field, to give them the opportunity to play here and showcase what we've done from a capital improvement standpoint, but it's nice to be able to get some competitive golf for folks that want to play. It doesn't necessarily have to be scratch golfers. There's different divisions, 3 to 6, 7 to 11, and so on down the line for each one of these entities. So it's a great event if you like tournament golf and you like to be competitive on the golf course. It's a great outlet. I know the deadline, I believe, is the 12th at about 8 o'clock in the morning. So they're going to have a number of players. I think he's north of 260 as we speak, and they're usually anywhere between 300 to 310 players, I think, is the most that they've had. So we're excited to be able to host them. It's certainly a lot of work, but we couldn't think of a better venue and a better mix of golf courses between public, municipal, and private facilities as the players try to make it to the Lake Club final. And I know the Moransky family and what they do at the Lake Club is phenomenal for the Greatest Golfer with everything that they have going on out there. So it's an exciting Sunday, and it's one that all the area pros will get the opportunity after their event's done on Friday or Saturday at their facility. We all try to make it to the award ceremony on the final day on Sunday. It's just a neat atmosphere and a great event for the game of golf, and it's good for growing the game of golf as well, which is why we're a big component of it here at Mill Creek.
We brought this up a few weeks ago, but I'll even hammer the point home even further. You brought up some really, really great golf courses in this area, and I'm convinced in my lifetime the Youngstown Mahoning Valley region is going to be back to where we were, or close to where we were, circa 1950s, 1960s, when we were the steel envy of the rest of the country and arguably the rest of the world. Now, it won't be in steel manufacturing. Youngstown will find its way through something else, and hopefully very soon, when the Fortune 500 companies come in and realize that the Mahoning Valley has a great quality of life, B, very affordable homes and whatnot, and C, great golf courses, great restaurants, and other things that we have that hardly anyone else has across the United States. When this area thrives again, oh my God, if people want to golf, We brought this up weeks ago. The folks from the South, as much as we love golfing in the winter months in Myrtle and down in Florida and Arizona, those people love coming to northeastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania in the summertime because we have tremendous golfing in the northeastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania area, specifically in the nice little home base that we have in the Mahoning Valley. I got to believe someone's going to finally recognize that this area should be an area where Fortune 500 companies start investing.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And that's one of the pushes that we've really tried to make an effort at the last 3 or 4 years by going to the Michigan Golf Show, Toronto Golf Show, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Akron. We're going to do Rochester, New York this year. A number of folks, it's a close drive in proximity to where you're going, where you don't have to go to Myrtle Beach. You don't have to go to Hilton Head. Very inexpensive weekend. The hotels are nice here. The restaurants are fabulous. I think some of the best food in the world's right here. I mean, the Italian food here is unbelievable compared to the other places around there. And I think, once people catch on, and I think it takes a year like this year where people had the opportunity to book vacations outside here that have gotten canceled, to really stay home, travel within an hour or two. And I think that's really where we've made our hay. We've got a lot of golfers from Pittsburgh that have come over and played. Probably about 20% of our income here at the Metro Parks from the golf end of it. A lot of folks, will jump in the car, drive that hour, drive an hour and a half, come play, have dinner, and drive home, or come up, spend the night. And I think that this year was a perfect example of it. We've gotten all the people to stay at a more local circle, as opposed to coming down from Toronto because they can't get across the border right now. Michigan even, we've had some folks come down from there as well. But with the restrictions on like New York coming down with this year, I think everybody here in the Mahoning Valley, they have it extremely lucky with the quality of golf courses that we have, both public and private, that both offer these stay and play packages. And I think it's just a matter of time before somebody comes in here and this explodes. But just like you said, Fortune 500 company. Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley is here for the taking, and the more people that you bring into it, they start to see, hey, we can move our business here, we can do some things here, and get it back to where we were back in its heyday. And I think that it's closer than you think.
Brian Tolnar from the Mill Creek Metro Parks joining us. All right, let's get to the nitty-gritty, and this is the first major, so all hands on deck, and a bunch of people are going to be making their way to San Francisco, California. The TPC Harding Park is going to be hosting the PGA Championship. Brian, tell us a little bit about this golf course in San Francisco.
It's the funny thing is it's very similar to Mill Creek Metro Parks. It was hosted by Harding Park. It was a golf course that was built, I don't want to say the 50s or 60s, in conjunction with President Warren Harding, so it was named after him. The park was as well. Basically a municipal facility. It had gotten run down over the course of time. They've reinvested a lot of money in there. I want to say around 2000, 2010. Got to the point where they can host, some PGA Tour tournaments. They've done a wonderful job redesigning it, getting it ready for tournament golf. It's a very lengthy golf course. They've spent, I want to say the number was like $60 million in that area with the park and Proposition 12 funding through the course of California. And that goes with their park, not only just with the golf course. They're making it a viable venue for the PGA Tour, the Senior PGA Tour, which hosts the Charles Schwab Cup there as well. They're slated to host the 2025 President's Cup. They've hosted a number of WGC events. I think the American Express was the last one that was out there. Another one was the one where Tiger Woods just ousted John Daly in a 3 or 4 hole playoff. So, I mean, it's starting to gain traction. And if you think of PGA Championship history, primarily it's always been in the month of August to begin with before they went to the May schedule a couple years ago with the addition of the Olympics and the rescheduling of the majors. So it's mostly been in the eastern part of the country. I think they've had probably a handful of times in the last probably 30 years that they've gone to the West Coast. So it's a great West Coast venue for them. Just a great all-around facility. It's known for players that hit it far off the tee, very generous, wide fairways, which, plays into the PGA Championship where they really let the players play, make a lot of birdies. This week you're probably looking at 12 to 15, 16 under is going to be your number at the end of the week. They like to have the greens nice and soft. The weather out there is a little bit more cooler this time of year than playing a PGA Championship in Ohio or New York or Philadelphia, which historically is where the most of them have been. Very soft greens, heavy, thick rough around the greens, but manageable rough if you just miss the fairway. They couldn't have picked a better place for Brooks Koepka to go for a three-peat because it's a venue that basically is built for his game. He's lengthy off the tee. He can beat you down with some great iron play, and if he gets the putter rolling, he's going to be close to setting some records out there. There's no doubt about it. But just a great venue for golf. The history of the PGA Championship, it's been around since 1916 when the PGA started and founded the PGA of America. The trophy is named after Rod Waterman, and it is a 2-foot trophy. A funny story on the trophy. Walter Hagen, who claimed the tournament around 1930, lost the trophy for a couple years. He left it with a cab driver. He was known to tilt back a few beers here and there back in his heyday. Left it in the arms of a cab driver who kept it for a couple years and then finally showed back up. But it's one of the larger trophies, and I guess it weighs about 27 or 30 pounds. So, I mean, it's one of the biggest trophies that the folks play for. Tournament purse this week is $11 million, with the winner's share just a hair under 2 at like 1.98. So, I mean, they're playing for a nice chunk of change, this week. Just a great venue to play on, and it's going to be for some interesting golf coming down the stretch on Saturday and Sunday for those who make the cut.
Obviously, playing on the coastline, you get that ocean breeze coming in. Do you think wind will be a factor at all this weekend?
I think anytime that you go to that part of San Francisco and California, the cool weather, if you get some, everybody's going to have a morning tee time and an afternoon tee time. So you're hoping for some good weather in the morning. It'll be a little bit cooler. In the afternoons, as the players finish in those late afternoon tee times, it does tend to get windy. The POA grass tends to pop up a little bit. The greens get a little bit more bumpier. The conditions become a little bit tougher. So I think if you're lucky and you catch the right couple days of weather, Thursday and Friday, before trying to make the cut, I think you're in pretty good shape. I think another unique thing about the PGA Championship is it's the only one of the 4 majors that doesn't have any amateurs in it, and it also has 20 PGA club professionals in it. So there's guys that do what I do, have the opportunity to qualify and make it into that tournament, and every year they have 20 spots available. So, there was one gentleman here that played in the Northern Ohio section a couple years ago named Ben Cook. He's in the field this week. Bob Sowers from Southern Ohio, he's in the field, and a couple other guys I knew from New York, Rob LeBritz, Ryan Beamer from the Tri-State section, and Danny Balin locally, from Western New York, are all in that tournament as well. So it's neat to be able to see some familiar names. Not necessarily going to compete for the championship, but if they make the cut in a PGA Tour major championship, it's a pretty darn good thing, and it makes the PGA professional at the club level really look good.
Brian, from a media standpoint, we have the Open out in England where they're 5 hours, 6 hours further along than the Eastern time zone. So for those of us in the Eastern time zone, by about noon or 1 o'clock, tournament's over on a Sunday. You flip it now because the tournament is going to be in California where it's 10 in the morning over there. It's 1 in the afternoon over here. So you might have some golfing taking place at 5 in the afternoon on a Sunday, which turns into 8 o'clock on a Sunday night on the East Coast. We could be seeing some prime time golf on Saturday and Sunday if things work out.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And that was one of the things when the PGA came to Oak Hill. Kerry Haig basically ran the event that was up there, and I had the opportunity to spend some time with them. Interesting guy. He's the director of competitions for the PGA of America, and that was really their push when they wanted to try to bring some events to the West Coast. Now, you remember Sahali in Seattle was one of those events. Obviously, this one, they've had several U.S. Opens out there with Torrey Pines and in Chambers Bay up in Oregon as well. So their push was when they went to the West Coast, and I believe you're probably going to see a couple in Texas because the PGA headquarters is in the process of moving there, is to be in that prime time television from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. because the golf as a sport gets its most viewership anytime between 5 and 9 p.m. historically with the events that have been out there. So I know that that's probably one of the reasons why that they are starting to piece in some of those events now. Being a traditionalist, I love when they have it here because you're watching it as it's going on. Home and see the end of the tournament where you're trying to watch it while you're working, having it on the Pro Shop. But I mean, from a television viewership, the PGA Tour and golf as a general will get the biggest bang for their buck having something hosted on the West Coast. There's no doubt about it. TV viewership is through the roof when they go play in California, Oregon, Washington, etc.
Okay, the obvious question for the Valley, because we do have a golfer that a PGA a professional golfer who will be taking part, Warren JFK grad Jason Kokrak. It has not been a good year for Jason. He's missed the cut on a number of events. He did have a couple of top 20 finishes. He doesn't come into the PGA championship on a great note, although he did last week make the cut and ultimately get some money. But he doesn't come in on the highest of notes. The course tends to be long, and that could favor Jason. What are some of the variables that Jason's going to have to do in order for him to not only make the cut but to have a top 20 type finish in this major?
You know what? I'll tell you what. His last week was really a make or break week. I mean, you could have continued the slump of missing cuts. He certainly played well last week, finishing under par, and I think he's got a little bit of momentum riding into this week. But from a golf course favorability, it really sets up. His game is very similar to Brooks Koepka. If he can get everything firing at the same time, he's right there. It's just a matter of getting 3 out of the 4 rounds and playing a good round on Sunday in the bank. So I think if he drives it accurately, like he did this past week, if he hits a lot of greens, gives himself some opportunities to make birdies, keep in mind you want to get to that 13, 14, 15, 16 under by the end of the week. If he can shoot 3 or 4 under each day, he's going to be in that hunt. But, he's got to drive it accurately. He's got to keep it out of the rough, and he's got to be able to get it up and down when he misses a green or two. And I think last week was a big stepping stone for him and really flipping the switch on how consistent he's been up until about 4 or 5 weeks ago, missing a couple cuts here and there. So I really put a lot of emphasis on how he played last week, giving him some momentum going into this week. So I think he's going to do well this week. Will he be at the top 5 at the end of the week? Maybe not. Do I think he's going to make the cut? Absolutely. Do I think if he hits the ball as well as he's capable of, he could be in the mix? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. It would be great for this area to see, watching him, especially on prime time. They're going to want somebody here from Warren, the Mahoning Valley, to be able to play at that level on a big stage in the season's first major.
It's not out of the realm of possibility for someone who's never won on the PGA Tour to have their first win as a major. Seems to me John Daly did that when he won the Open. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, you got John Daly, you got Rich Beam. Historically, Jason's played extremely well on the West Coast, so I mean he's got that going for him, which is well. I think he's got some momentum to build off of the WGC last week. Heading in to that week on the West Coast. I think if he plays as well as he did, when he goes down and plays in LA and all of those venues as well, I think he could be certainly a name that you would see in the mix this week heading into the major.
All right, let's talk about your power ratings and who you like this weekend in the PGA Championship.
Power 5 this week starts off with Brooks Koepka. Obviously his biggest component is can he get out of his way and keep three-peat out of his head and just go out there and play one hole at a time as he continues to go. So I think Brooks Koepka, obviously there's not a golf course that's more suited for his game. If you look at, where he's played well, Bethpage last year at Bellerive the year before, places that have fairways that are extremely wide. He has great iron plays. He hit a lot of greens, give himself the opportunity to putt, and Harding Park's no different for him. Justin Thomas, obviously coming off the victory last week, had some injuries up to that point. I think he's finally firing on all 4 cylinders for 4 straight rounds as opposed to playing 3 and having 1 so-so round. So I think he rides some of the momentum. Webb Simpson's another one of those guys. Picked up a number of victories this year. He certainly plays well. He doesn't miss a lot of fairways, so he gives himself and creates himself a lot of opportunities to hit a lot of greens, gives himself some opportunities to make some putts. He won his U.S. Open on the West Coast. So, I mean, he's got some good mojo as well. John Rahm's another one of those guys, very similar to Brooks and Jason Kokrak, that just bomb it off the tee. They're going to take advantage of the par fives and, the lengthy par fours. And I think that's one of the things that the players that are in the mix this week, they have to take advantage of the 449, the 480, the 468 par fours. Very similar if you're, the South Course here at Mill Creek, number one. Playing that all the way back, if you've got some wind kicking, it's a tough and a long hole at 450, 460. You're going to have a lot of holes that are like that because it's not going to be quite as warm as it is here on the East Coast at this particular time. So John Rahm, if he can hit, a ton of fairways like the rest of the Power Five, I think they're all going to be in good shape. Bryson DeChambeau comes in at 5. Certainly has enough distance. He's certainly been consistent. He's going to be a top 10 guy, top 15 guy in just about anything he does. I mean, the guy's hitting at 340 off the tee. He's hitting a ton of greens, and he's making the putts when he needs to. A couple sleepers, 2 left-handers, Bubba Watson and Phil Mickelson. Both tend to play well there, have runner-up finishes in events out there. Martin Keimer, who won an event there and won the PGA Championship in 2010. I think from an overseas international player, he'll be in the mix. He tends to play well in the PGAs. And Rory McIlroy, kind of a roller coaster year for him. That's why he's not in the Power 5 and he's in the sleeper division. He just hasn't hit enough greens and enough putts when you need to hit them in these tournaments. But I think he's playing well enough for anybody to be able to be in that mix, and he's done well over the course of his past 2 or 3 years to always be a name for contention at a major.
My strategy during the picking these golfers has always been go a little bit off the favorites and then try to find those fringe players that have a chance. It's worked out pretty well for me. I have two winners so far. So this week I'm going to pick Patrick Cantlay. What do you think about Patrick, and what do you think about his chances this weekend?
Well, Patrick certainly had a good season. He's got a win at the first event at the Memorial, if I'm not mistaken, and he's played well all year. I think he's very similar to Webb Simpson in how they hit it off the tee, how many greens they hit. They certainly give themselves a ton of opportunities at birdie, whether the putts fall or not. It comes down to whether you'll see their name on the leaderboard at the end. But players that hit a lot of fairways, are very conservative and hit the greens that are out there, which are very large. You're going to always pretty much have a lot of guys hit a ton of greens, when they're as large as they are at Harding Park. It's how tightly you can hit them and how good and how solid your iron game is going into it. And that's, one of the reasons why we put Phil Mickelson in there. He's driving it well. The fairways are overly generous. So if he hits a lot of those, he's up there with Tiger Woods that can hit it tight for 18 straight holes if they are in the fairway and not having to hack it out of the trees or the heavy rough. So I think, having, Cantlay be an accurate driver off the tee certainly helps him hit a number of greens and be able to hit and position themselves into hitting some close shots when they need to make a birdie.
Okay, I got 3 guys to watch out for, but I can only pick one, obviously. We have talked about one of them. Call me crazy. I think Jason Kokrak finishes in the top 5 this week. And he shouldn't, because he's not had a good year, but he is an exceptional golfer on the West Coast. All of the tournaments that he's done on the West Coast, I'm glad you brought that up, Brian. Honestly, I think Jason Kokrak is a major threat to win this PGA Championship this weekend if everything falls into place. I got him as a top 5 finisher. Jason Day, I think, is someone that could have a run. Again, a lot of things would have to go right, but the guy I am picking, and I may have to go down to West Virginia and put some shekels on him, Xander Schauffele. I think Xander could be the guy this weekend. What are his chances?
I think Xander Schauffele in majors is probably one of the best that you always see in that top 10, top 15. He's always on the leaderboard at the Masters. He's always on the leaderboard at the U.S. Open, the PGA, overseas, whether it be the British Open or European event. Guys like that, I think, are certainly in the mix. Mark Leishman, another one of those guys that didn't make either of our lists. Very similar. They have enough length off the tee to really overpower the golf course if they're hitting it correctly. Jason Kokrak is another one of those. But it comes down to if you're going to hit a bunch of greens, and he's certainly going to be in that mix at the end of the week. I like that pick, and he was very close to being in my sleepers pick for the week. There's no doubt about it. Xander was. and he was, I think, on ours at the, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago down at the Memorial, where historically he played well as well. So I think he's definite. He's going to have the luxury of playing in weather that he would normally see overseas, a little bit cooler, a little bit windier. Because that's how San Francisco is this time of the year, especially when you get to the early mornings and you get to the late evenings, where greens can be bumpy every once in a while, where you got the POA growing in the afternoon for the afternoon waves. So I think he's probably more adapted to that than anybody in the field, just because of the golf courses that he plays on from an overseas perspective. And that's one of the reasons why we threw Martin Keimer in there too. They don't play the pristine places week in and week out between the European Tour and the PGA Tour when they're overseas. So I think that certainly helps those fellas coming over from an international level.
Brian, before we get to your tip of the week, which pen and paper is ready and I'm ready to write stuff down, I got to ask, and I will ask this on behalf of the DeChambeau, the Kokrak, and some, shall we say, bigger people on the PGA Tour. The fact that you are going to have a tournament in a place where it's not going to be stifling hot, where the weather is going to be somewhat comfortable, I got to believe the bigger guys in stature on the PGA Tour are going to be the happiest this weekend, as long as Mother Nature doesn't throw down 4 straight days of temps in the 90s.
Absolutely. It's going to be nice and cool for them. It's not traditionally what you'd see at a PGA, especially on the East Coast, where it's just so hot half the players can't even pick up the trophy. I remember, Jack Nicklaus, I think the year that Rory won, picking up the trophy in the sun, they were holding it with a towel because it got that hot. So, you're not going to see that this week. It will be sunny and it will be nice at portions of the day, but it certainly helps those players. And it comes down to how far are you carrying the ball this week. If the conditions are soft, the person that carries the ball the farthest and doesn't expect a lot of roll off his tee shots are the ones that are going to have that advantage off the tee from a length standpoint. So, certainly those guys that we talked about, from top to bottom between all three of us have that length and ability to just bomb it and carry it to where you're not going to get mega roll that you would see at a U.S. Open where the ball just continues to roll out, or a British Open where it just seems like it rolls forever. So, having the weather a little bit softer and the conditions a little bit softer and a little bit cooler out there, I think is certainly an advantage for the Mark Leishman and the bigger guys, as they go out there and play.
Brian Zolnar from Mill Creek joining us, as he does every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, to talk PGA Tour, to talk about the Metro Parks and what's going on in Mill Creek. But this is my favorite time of the interview. It is time for Brian to throw down yet another tip to lower your score on the golf course. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, I thought going into this, I thought that there were some areas that people could really capitalize just by listening to what we're going to have probably over the next 6 to 7 weeks. I'm really going to spend some time with some trouble shots, some uneven lies, where you may find the ball above your feet, below your feet, side hill lie, punch shot, a high shot where you're trying to let the wind ride it, and a knockdown shot where you're trying to keep it underneath the wind. So I figure if we spend the next 6 or 7 weeks, we're going to better a lot of people's game on just being able to make some minor adjustments. That way you get the results that you're looking for and knowing what to look for on the type of shots that you're trying to hit. So with that being said, this week we're going to go an uphill lie where the ball is above your feet. So you're heading uphill. As you head uphill to hit a shot to the green, let's say, for example, it's a 150-yard shot. So as we are on that hill and our shoulders get parallel with the slope of the hill, you're going to add loft to that club. So that means we're going to have to adjust our club. So basically, if I'm at 150 yards and I'm on a slope that has probably about 30% worth of grade to it, we're going to add a club or two to make up for the distance that the club is not going to go. So that 7-iron is really going to turn into about a 9-iron as you parallel your shoulders up with the ground going uphill. So to compensate for that, we want to maybe take a 5-iron or a 6-iron, so that way we're hitting something that has about the 7-iron loft with the slope of the hill that we're using. So club selection is key before you even hit the shot. So we're going to add a club or two based on how far or what we have to carry. So if there's a bunker in front of the green, you want to carry it, you may go to that 5-iron as opposed to the 6. If we have a little bit of land where we can run it up, it may be that 6-iron if you're borderline 4 and 5-iron, because the shots would be flying a little bit less if we stuck with that 7-iron. So we're going to add a club or two. So the weighting as you're standing over the ball is going to be a little bit more on your front foot. So this will be both for a right-handed and left-handed golfer. The weight's going to be on that front foot, so where you're really pushing some weight into the hill. So you're looking for some stability with your lower body. We want to keep nice and in balance. The ways that you hit the shot poorly is if you were to fall back on the ball or come over the top on it. So to shore that up, we want to position about 70% of our weight on that front foot. So ball position's the next key. Because we're hitting it uphill and there's a gap between the backswing and where the ball's located, we need to move that golf ball forward. So my normal 7-iron, say, would be in my middle of my stance. I want to move the ball about an inch and a half more towards the target. So again, both for the right-handed and left-handed golfer, your weight is going to be on your target foot, which is going to be in your front foot in this case, and the ball position is going to be towards your front foot, going towards the hole. Because we want to make sure our first contact is with the golf ball and we're swinging with the grade of the uphill slope. The last thing that we have to do is we have to adjust where we're going to aim. Because we're moving the ball position up, the tendency is the club face is going to close, causing it to hook. So if you're a right-handed golfer, it's going to go from right to left. If you're left-handed, it's going to go left to right. So we have to compensate for that. Depending on how severe the hill is how much you want to compensate. Normal grade, 30%, 40%. You're going to aim probably 5 to 10 yards right or left of the target, depending upon what golfer you are, because you're going to play for that hook. The ball's going to have the tendency to fly a lot higher when you make contact, and it's going to have a ton more backspin. So when that ball hits, it's not going to travel and run quite as far. So I think if you do those things, grip the club where you normally would grip it, in the middle of the grip, and you're good to go. You want to make sure that you're nice and smooth, and you want to make sure that you're very imbalanced. You're going with the momentum of the club, and you're starting with that weight on that front foot, which is going to help with your lower body stability. If you can make good contact with it, that 5-iron or 6-iron that we adjusted to based on the slope of the hill is going to fly where your normal 7-iron would go from 150 yards. And it'll give you an opportunity to hit that green, give yourself an opportunity to make a putt. So, uphill lie, we want to move the ball forward. We want to move the weight forward. We want to tend for the shot to be a hook, so we have to adjust where we're aiming as well. The ball's going to fly higher. It's going to have a lot more spin, and it's going to land a lot softer than a normal 7-iron or 5-iron would land in this case, because we're adding loft with the slope of the hill.
Okay, Brian, let me ask, and you mentioned the right-handed golfer, the ball goes left to right or right to left?
It'll be a hook, so it's going to go right to left.
Right to left. Okay,
yep.
So you're gonna probably want to aim
right
3 or 4 feet to the right of the hole.
Yep.
And if you hit a perfect shot, it's going to be going pin high.
Correct. It'll be hooking back in towards the hole, where the left-hand golfer is going to want to aim left of the target, and it'll hook back in towards the target. Absolutely.
All right, and if you're left-handed, you obviously it's going to go left to right. That is the hook. The slice is the opposite way. If you slice a ball, which I've done way too many times in my lifetime, as a right-handed golfer, the slice goes left to right. The hook goes right to left. So, yeah, this is a fascinating thing, and I find myself in this scenario at least 2 times during the course of a round of golf.
Yep.
For whatever reason, where the ball's going to be on a hill. And I'm this will be a first when I actually hit the ball, because when I'm in this scenario up until just now, I would normally play it like I would normally hit a golf ball, and now I've just gotten educated. I look forward to trying this and see how successful it is.
And that's one of the things. Once you know how to set up a uphill lie, a downhill lie, which we'll go over next week, a side hill lie where the ball's above your feet, a side hill lie where the ball's below your feet. Once you have the right club selection and you make the right adjustments, you're going to get the same result as if you were on a nice level piece of land hitting a shot into a green. And it's knowing what to expect, knowing how the ball's going to shape off the shot. Is it going to have backspin? Is it going to have overspin? Is it going to hold? Is it going to run up to the hole? And I think that these next probably 6 or 7 weeks are a good microcosm of being able to make the adjustments, understanding why you need to make them. And I think that those ones are going to be the biggest improvement as you encounter some of these situations. Not necessarily here at Mill Creek too often because our property is relatively flat, but 99% of the golf courses around here aren't. They have holes that go uphill. They have holes that go downhill. They have dog legs right where the ball slopes away from you, dog legs left where the ball slopes upward. So I think these are going to be very helpful as players move forward, knowing what to do, knowing what the results are to enable them to make the adjustments to get a good result from the shots that they're trying to hit.
Hey, Brian, always a pleasure. Good hearing from you again, and we will do this next week.
You got it. Have a great day, Anthony and Ron.
All right, you got it. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek. That was some really good advice, something that I had never heard of before. So I'm looking forward to this.
I was just surprised that you only get into that situation twice an outing.
Hey, simmer down over there. Simmer down. But, if you're a 150-foot shot or 150-yard shot and the ball is on an upward plane, the ball's going to be above your feet. So I would normally just play. That's how bad I am as a golfer. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I got to hit out of this thing. So let me just take my club and I'm just going to hit out of this and you go from there. No, golf is just so difficult. And remember, with all the stuff you got to remember.
Remember, he also said go down 2 clubs to what you would normally hit for that distance.
Yeah, so instead of a 7, I'm going to go to a 5-iron.
Right.
Because, if I have 70% of the weight on my front foot and hit the ball close to my front foot, so I'm going to line up with the ball and my front foot somewhat even, where I'm going to hit the ball. It should go in the air. Now, it normally doesn't with me, but that's another story. I like the idea of aiming 5 foot to the right of the stick because you're going to have a natural hook on it.
Yeah, because your club is going to get closed.
Yeah.
So when you close the club, it's going to go.
It's going to go right to left.
Towards the direction of your dominant hand.
Yeah. So it'll go right to left.
Just like pulling a ball in baseball. You
Yep.
know, it's the same. Your bat's going to be close, so it's going to go right to left. And if you hit opposite field.
It's going to go left to right. There you go. That's it. Golf and baseball. I went the opposite way. I sliced the ball.
Swings are terribly different, but
this is true.
The mechanics is kind of the same.
Yeah, the mechanics are kind of the same. Absolutely. It's
not swing mechanics, but like physics mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. This is great advice. And so congratulations and for me in advance because I think that I'm going to lower my score now. I think I will. We'll see.
Now we have that's our 5th tip? 5th?
Yeah, I've written them all down. I have them at home, so they're going to be taken with me when I go. Okay, I'm right here. I'm just going to be. Here we go. Now need to do this. Okay.
And people are going to be like, "What's Ron doing?"
Yeah. What the hell is he doing? And then just looking at this, going to cheat sheet. Yeah. Okay.
All right,
yeah, I'll do this. All right, let's do this. And hit the ball 2 feet from the cup. What did you just do? Wow, hey, shooter. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline is open. Shooter. 330-886-0813. Back in a bit. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
The details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Stay in the showers. I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Wednesday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open one and all, 330-886-0813. We just heard from Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek. With his pick for the PGA Championship. I originally had Koepka.
Yeah, that's the favorite pick. You know, he's the favorite. He's going for a three-peat, and like you said, they put him in a perfect golf course to get a three-peat. So definitely one of the guys you watch out for. I don't usually pick favorites just because it never really works out.
You'd be fun to hang out with in a horse racing track. Yeah, if you're not picking the favorite. I got to speak to you about that because we have a pick six over at Saratoga that's worth a little over $1 million. I need you to start picking horses for me.
The first time that my dad was like, "Hey, I'm doing bets on the Kentucky Derby every year," and he's like, "Who do you think I should bet on?" Because I was like, "Oh, I like this Smarty Jones."
Nice,
pretty good pick.
There you go. There you go. Well, speaking of the Kentucky Derby, that's going to be coming up next month. We'll have Seabass back on because
he was fun to listen to.
Well, he also picked the top two horses, even though he said, I don't want to put money on these two, but they're the top two horses. I understand that you want to chase money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people decide to do that. Well, I don't want to go with a sure thing because the sure thing is not going to be paying me a lot of money. Oh, wait a second. If this is a sure thing, why wouldn't you put most of your eggs in the basket of the sure thing if it's supposed to be the sure thing? So, I mean, if I have two horses that there's a really good chance they're going to be the top two horses, I'd have to be an absolute idiot, and yes, folks, I have been an absolute idiot. I would have to be an absolute idiot on a $100 budget not to put 80% of my $100 on these two horses.
Especially, that race, everyone knew who was going to win it. It was nothing was going to happen for the horse that won that race to not win it. He was going to be the overwhelming favorite. Head and shoulders above every horse.
And the horse that finished in second was the overwhelming favorite to finish in second place. Okay, if I put $40 down, actually $80 down, $40 exacta box, I'm going to be making a hell of a lot more than $80. I'm going to be making a pretty nice chunk of change. Now, it's not a great chunk of change compared to if I were to go outside the box and try to chase money. But the aha moment for everyone that is in the circle of wanting to bet on horses, if you stray completely away from the favorite, you're going to wind up leaving the horse racing track or leaving the racino or wherever you do your action from without any money. There's your aha moment.
Well, we'll see, because he picked Koepka. You had Xander.
I have Xander Schauffele. Yeah.
And he's 22 to 1 odds. And
Xander is?
My boy Patrick is 24 to 1. And then, of course, Koepka's the favorite, so I think he's like 10-1.
Yeah, I'm going to look at this right now because I saw earlier in the week what the odds were, and the Vegas insiders are now saying that Koepka is 10-1. So on a $100 bet, you would win $1,000 if he happens to win. Justin Thomas is 11-1. John Rahm is 14-1. So is McIlroy. DeChambeau is 16-1. Xander Schauffele is now 20-1.
He's dropped a little bit.
He's dropped a little bit. He is at 20-1. Cantlay is 30-1.
So he went up a little.
Yeah, he went up a little bit.
That's all right.
Tiger Woods, who is in this, is 33-1. Now, it is a major, and
Tiger
obviously
brings out his
everyone is hell-bent on wanting Tiger to pass Jack Nicklaus
PGA
for most
Tour
majors.
PGA Tour is begging Tiger to be competitive because
Absolutely.
The ratings will go way up.
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. And plus, if you bet $100 on Tiger and he wins $3,300,
3 more to get to
18? 3 more to get to him, yes, sir.
So
yeah,
that's gonna be tough. The way Tiger's playing, I mean, he's getting older. He's definitely not what he was, but he proved last year that he can still win a major. So
I'm looking down the list to see where Jason Kokrak is. There he is, 200-1.
Go put money on him.
Well, if you put $100 on a 200-1 shot, you 20 grand in your pocket if he happens to win that thing.
You think he's top 5?
I think he's top 5. I mean, that doesn't mean that he wins.
He's teeing off at
a little past 8.
A little past 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be.
Now, is that a little past 8 in the morning California time, or
so
okay.
he'll be like 11.
Yeah.
He'll be on right after we go on. Oh no, he'll be about an hour in when we go on Friday. So.
Well, Friday will probably be an afternoon thing for him because he's teeing off tomorrow,
right.
Which means that Friday he'll probably be doing afternoon golfing, which means that he won't even be on the course when our show ends. So, by the way, Jason Day is 40-1. That's not a bad investment either. So,
Jason Day's always in it. He's consistent. And the reason I picked Patrick Cantlay is him and Jason Day and a couple other players in the field, they don't put themselves into trouble. So, I think he's definitely going to be in the mix because of that.
All right, so Koepka is he's the favorite, but it's 10-1. I mean, this is
golfing is so. I mean, even your favorites are usually about 10-1.
Yeah, we all sit back and say, hey, if we're going to put money on horses, you normally have a horse going off the favorite at 2-1 or less than 2-1. It could be 5. Well, 5-2 is a little more than 2-1. Could be 5-2. Could be 2-1. It could be 4-5 odds, which is less than 1-1. But 2-1, 5-2, 7-2 are normally the post-time favorites for each of the horses. But when in the Derby, 3-1 or 4-1 would be considered to be the favorite. I think the real money in all of this, if you wanted to win some bucks, is golf. I mean, seriously, 10-1 is the favorite. I mean, if you really believe that John Rahm is capable of putting together 4 fantastic rounds, he's 14-1.
Right.
$100 on John Rahm is $1,400 in your pocket if you win.
I would have made bank on Dustin Johnson a couple weeks ago.
Oh my God, absolutely you would have. Yeah, now Dustin Johnson, I mean, you're making bank on him if he wins this week. He's 20-1. That's $2 grand in your pocket on a $100 bet. Hell, forget about $100. Put $50 on someone, you got $1,000 in your hand.
Right.
If I put $20, which I don't think I will, but if I were to put $20 on Kokrak to win, I got $4 grand in my pocket.
Right? I mean,
now, Jason's never won on the PGA Tour, so why would you want to put $20 on a guy that's
$20.
never won, but it's $20. I mean,
So
all right.
That's big risk reward. I mean,
Absolutely it is.
Oh, I lost $20.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go even a little smaller, and let's say, all right, I'm going to put $10 on Jason. Instead of buying a Happy Meal or buying Subway or whatever, because, I mean, let's be honest, you're going to spend about $10 feeding your face if you're in a fast food restaurant. So using that $10 to bet on Coke Rack, you're going to get $1,000 in your pocket if he wins. Okay.
Okay.
No, actually, $2,000.
$2,000.
Actually, $2,000 because he's 200 to 1. So if I go and spend $10 on a guy that has 200 to 1 odds, if he doesn't win, it's kind of like me spending $10 at a restaurant. Okay, my argument on this is I'm going to actually save myself from a appointment with a cardiologist. Instead of feeding my face with food that's not good for me, I'm going to bet on a golfer that's probably not going to win, but if he does, I'm $2,000 richer. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Imagine if you put like a big money on him, though.
God.
You might give yourself a heart problem.
Well, this is true. Yeah, this is true. Imagine if someone were to put $100 on Coke Rack, and he comes out and wins this thing, and you're walking out with $20,000. I'm going to have security walk me to my car and probably give the security guy a $500 tip because he walked me to my car.
I remember that my dad always plays the lottery. And one night we were sitting watching lottery numbers, and the first 3 numbers were right.
Nice.
And he's getting all sweaty. And I'm like, Dad, if we win, you're going to have a heart attack and die anyway.
The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline is open, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Yeah, I'm now starting to realize, hey, the money might be in the PGA Tour, not horse racing. I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, I might need to bring my attention to the golfing instead of the horse racing track. Now, having said that, Pick 6 in Saratoga is worth over $1 million, and it's 20 cents if you pick one horse per race. It's a 20-cent investment. Now, the odds of you picking 6 consecutive winners.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that one. It's kind of like the odds of winning
like
the Powerball.
Odds of getting struck by lightning twice.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I haven't even been struck once, let alone twice. Not that I want that. 330-886-0813. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline is open. More of the craziness we call Running Point. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point. It's coming up in just a bit. Stick around.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself, like I'm living the dream. Platform shoes, strut down the street. It's gonna get hot in here. I hope you can handle the heat.
Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Dana Balish reporting moments ago that several Poland high school sports are now on hold due to some positive COVID tests. And as we pivot into the 2 o'clock hour, state of Ohio is, depending on how you're looking at this, some folks believe that the state of Ohio is playing the part of Lucy Van Pelt, about ready to pull the football away from Charlie Brown, a.k.a. the OHSAA, where Charlie Brown goes high in the air. Ah! Yeah. Some other folks, myself, I tend to be in the field or in the side of, I don't think the OHSAA, or the state, I'm sorry, I don't think the state of Ohio is looking to pull the carpet out of someone or away from someone. I think the state of Ohio is waiting until the absolute last minute to see if we can do this without any hiccups. Because if there is an avenue available where we can play football in the fall high school sports, then I think we should do it. But if there's going to be some hiccups involved, then okay, now we have to figure out what's going on.
Problem is, Ron, you have to define a hiccup, because Poland had positive tests. You're not going to go through a fall sports season without any of these schools having a positive test. It's not going to happen. Someone's going to get it at some point during fall season, and if you're going to do it, that can't mean the complete shutdown of all your athletics programs because someone tests positive. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
No.
And you can't think that, we're not going to, if that's your definition of a hiccup, just a positive test, yeah, you're going to have a bunch of hiccups. You're going to be hiccuping so much you're going to be annoying.
Well,
so, it's just, and then it's not wrong to set it's just you have to decide what side of the.
And I think the state of Ohio is trying to wait until the last possible minute to not do what a lot of us believe they are going to do, and that's cancel the fall season. I don't want the season to be canceled in any way, shape, or form. However, at this particular juncture on the 5th of August, 2020, I still don't see how you're going to be able to play an entire season without any major problems in terms of guys or athletes testing positive for COVID. And then what is your response? Now,
right. That's the big question.
To me, the hypocrisy, and it is hypocrisy, the absolute hypocrisy in all of this is, if you're hemming and hawing about the athletes wanting to play fall sports, then obviously you're at the point where you shouldn't even be hemming and hawing about the kids going back to school.
Right.
Because if you're hemming and hawing about this, then it's a slam dunk that the kids go back to school, which it's anything but. My problem with all of the stuff going on, and I said this on Monday when I made my editorial comment about what went on with me personally 2 weeks ago. My problem with all of this is it has been politicized by everybody in this country, and that's what sickens me the most.
Here's what I'm scared of. Poland had positive tests, so now everyone's going to look at Poland and be like, I don't want to play at Poland. Even if in a couple weeks no tests come positive, they're going to have that stigma, like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh man, no,
I don't want to play these guys. I don't want to go to Poland. These guys tested positive for COVID.
That's going to be a huge domino effect. Because then if someone does go play Poland, then someone else can say, I don't want to play them because they played in Poland. And Poland's been having positive tests.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a chain reaction of things, and it's just that's what I'm really scared of.
I wish people would stop politicizing this first and foremost. And the other thing is, I wish that people would finally understand. And some folks do, and God bless those that do understand this. But look, we do a sports show. Our service in this entity of YSN is to give kids that are playing sports the credit that they absolutely deserve to have. And that's all well and good. But I'm going to tell you right now, as a person who loves sports, none of this is possible unless that kid is doing a damn good job in the classroom. Because playing a sport is not a requirement. That is a reward for what you do in the classroom. So when people sit back and say, well, we got to have sports in the fall. No, your whole thing is way off base. We have to have kids in the classroom long before we have sports. I don't give a damn about the fall sports in comparison to whether or not we have kids in school. That should be our number one focus. Having the kids go to school and have them going to school to get an education and not be worried about getting a virus that could very well be prevalent right now.
Seems like we're starting to see it's starting to expose the priorities, athletics over education, even at the high school level.
And it's wrong.
Which is, I mean,
it's wrong. Look, I mean,
it was easy to sweep under the rug when there wasn't COVID-19.
Sure.
But now that there is COVID-19, it's right in their face the people that put that priority over education.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how I said this for years when I was doing my show on iHeart. Okay, you're a great athlete. Fantastic. Wonderful. What kind of a student are you in the classroom? Because you could be a phenomenal athlete, but if you're not a good kid, if you don't carry a decent grade point average in school, you ain't going to a major college.
No, and most high school programs, I mean, if you're in academic trouble in a high school program, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
You got to have a D average to get on the team.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
You're not going to go to college with a D average.
No.
You're going to play sports in high school with a D average.
I mean, when people look at me and I tell them with a straight face, if it were up to me, you don't play athletics, you don't march in the band, you don't perform other stuff that we don't talk about. But because sports gets all the attention, and that's fine. I mean, YSN is your sports network. It's not your marching band network. If you wanted to do that, maybe someone would come up with that.
Your science class.
Your science class network. Good luck trying to come up with that. Not to say that it's a bad thing. It's not. But YSN, we deal with kids that are in sports. Now, having said that,
you're mixing of Arnold Palmer the other time. That was kind of got to some science.
Well, this is true. This is true.
Dr. Bunsen and Beaker.
Yeah, there you go. If it were up to me,
Bunsen Honeydew.
If it were up to me, you wouldn't see the athletic field unless you had a 2.0 average.
And even that's not a lot to ask.
No, it's not. It's not a lot to ask. I mean, you can be a slacking underachiever like I was in high school.
I had 2.65 in high school.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care that much. I'm not afraid to admit it. I didn't take high school grades seriously. And
mine was
2.65.
Mine was near the 2-point range.
Right.
And I didn't care one way or the other.
Once I got to college and I cared about the classes I was going to, I finished college with a 3.5.
There you go.
So I mean, some kids just don't focus well in high school because there's a lot of classes that they zone out on.
Yeah.
Plus they're kids.
Well, and yeah, that's the other thing, and we can talk about trying to get into the mindset of a 15, 16, 17, or 18-year-old kid. You know, this is why there is so much more upsets in high school sports, because you don't know the mindset of the 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-old kid. I mean, for all we know, they may have had a bad day in the classroom. Their girlfriend or boyfriend might have broken up with them, and there you go. And they're off to their game. Or their best friend, who happens to be a teammate of theirs, maybe they're on the fritz, and you don't see that interaction that you normally would see on the football field, basketball court, baseball diamond.
They're the reason their girlfriend broke up with them.
Oh, now we've gone into the Jerry Springer portion of the show, which we don't want. But there's a lot of variables, which is why there's a lot of upsets in the high school on the high school field than there is in college ball, because you're dealing with immature kids.
Especially in sports where physical superiority doesn't automatically get you win. I mean, football, you don't see it as much because football, if you're bigger and stronger than the other team, you're pretty much 9 out of 10 times in high school football going to win. I mean, there's just that thing. But in sports where like basketball, baseball, you see so many upsets because of that same reason. The more mental IQ games.
I told the kids last year, and I said it more than once. This is a John Wooden line, and it's not just for basketball; it's for anything in life in general. Hard work trumps talent that doesn't work hard. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're just assuming and going through the motions, hey, we have this unbelievable amount of talent, therefore we don't have to work nearly as hard, therefore we're going to just go through the motions and I'll still be able to win 80% of my games, and that's a successful season. Oh no, I'll take the team that busts their ass every single practice, every single game. I'll take that team long before I take a team filled with kids that are complacent, have talent, but they're complacent. Because I am a firm believer, hard work does trump talent that doesn't work hard.
And when I was a senior in high school, I was making for my senior project, I was making a documentary about South Range girls basketball. It was a fight to the ITCL between them and Springfield and United. All three teams were really, really talented. Game was coming up, Springfield versus South Range. Springfield wins, and they take a share of the ITCL with United. The game before South Range, Springfield was playing East Palestine. East Palestine didn't have any talent on that team back then. They outworked Springfield. They beat Springfield because Springfield was so focused on South Range coming up next.
Yep.
And if you just waltz into a gym, a team that works extremely hard can beat you.
Absolutely.
Especially in high school.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. So it's, long story short, as we get back into trying to tie this all up, I want fall sports to happen in the worst way because we are going to be really busy. If we have a football season, and I hope and pray that we do, we're going to be really, really busy. But I also want the state of Ohio to make a decision not based on emotion, but based on what is best and what is going to make everyone better in the long run, health-wise and otherwise.
And I also want to put out that no matter what, if whatever's put in front of us, we're going to go full steam ahead.
Absolutely.
If football doesn't happen, but they let volleyball, golf, track, cross country go, YSN's going to be at all those schools for all those sports too.
Yep.
So we're not hinged on football. We want football. We're excited for football. But football is not what's getting us into the door at your school, and that's what I love about YSN.
Well, and I've worked on my golf game.
Worked on your golf game.
I've worked on my.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
He's got a putt.
10-foot putt for par, and for a share of the hole. And it's in the hole. Yeah, we're gonna be working on
got
that.
A little bit of a British accent for your color commentator.
Yeah.
And another couple feet that shot would have been mortal. Oh, he gave that one the full Monty wrong. Full Monty.
The full Monty. Oh God, yeah. I can remember one time where my loud voice got me into a little bit of trouble. Dottie Pepper wanted to bitch slap me. Oh, she just did in the worst way. I was on the course with the LPGA when they used to have it up at Squaw Creek, and I was doing a report just as Dottie Pepper was shooting, and she was on the fringe of the green, about to put her shot. I think it was her third shot, par 4, and she was already pissed that she wasn't on the green because you want to be on the green to try to go for a bird. So I thought I was speaking very softly. Apparently, Dottie didn't think I was speaking very softly and shot me a look as if to say, "You better shut your damn mouth or I'm going to take this pitching wedge and wrap you upside the head with it." So I was like, yeah, back to you guys.
Back to you guys. And I might die soon, so back to you guys.
Yeah, so.
Do you remember?
So
back
we're working really hard on the golf voice.
Do you remember back in Tiger's prime, there was a drive that he was doing where someone flashed the camera in his backswing and he stopped on a dime right there, like that. Just you can't do. I mean, without it, just stopped, and it's like the strength.
That's a very Bo Jackson-esque type of move. Yeah.
And then if Tiger's coming after you.
Yeah, well, if Tiger shoots you a look, yeah, that's kind of menacing as well. But no, Dottie Pepper shot me a look, and I'm like, back to you guys. And the people around me were just like looking at me as I was doing the report. I didn't think I was talking all that loud, but apparently I have to work on my golf voice. So now I believe if I talk like this, 10 foot for the outright lead for Columbiana. I think I can be okay. So if we don't have a football season, I'll be on the links somewhere.
Yes.
Let's go to our fairway reporter, Ron Potesta. He has a 150.
I'll tell you what, guys. The wind is blowing down here.
Wind is howling.
And he's in the rough. It's a terrible lie.
He's in a very bad way. 154 yards from the hole. He hits the ball really hard. Let's see how this carries, guys.
No, he doesn't like it, Bruce. I believe there's a crack in Bruce.
And the golf club goes in the air. He is pissed about this shot, guys. Back to you. All right, so that's a sign of good things to come. If we don't have football season, we'll have golf season.
That may not be enough club.
May not be enough club.
I believe that's a crack in Bruce.
He may have to listen to Brian Tolnar Wednesdays as he gives his tip of the week.
This place is electric.
And the golf clap.
Good show,
Yeah.
Good show.
Good show. It's bloody well done. Well placed. Well placed, young man. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning
really
Hotline.
Quick,
Yeah, that's...
We derail really
Yeah,
quick.
we derailed from this one real fast. Yeah, I haven't seen a derailment this bad since the time the train derailed in Leetonia.
Oh, jeez.
Oof. All right, speaking of derailed, the Ohio State-Michigan game is not going to be played the Saturday after Thanksgiving this year.
Taking a quick turn.
For the first time since 1942, the Buckeyes in Michigan will be playing on October the 24th.
And there was something going on in 42, some big kind of world.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. Yeah, kind of a big deal. So, if we have college football, Ohio State and Michigan will be playing on October the 24th. Now, the Big Ten has come out with their Big Ten schedule. It is a conference-only schedule. I believe they have one non-conference game,
That's
or
the
is
SEC.
it? Okay.
Big Ten is
Big Ten is strict 10 games
and the SEC
in the conference.
is going to be very. They haven't released their schedule yet, but they've come out and said conference only as well.
And the Pac-12 is trying to figure out if they're...
Pac-12 still wants to kind of get their players in line a little bit.
Yeah, they have to. They still
They
have
got some problems.
They have some problems with getting their kids in line.
California and West Coast, that's a different animal.
Yeah, that's the ACC inviting Notre Dame.
They've left it open for one non-conference.
Yeah,
game.
one non-conference game. I don't know if Notre Dame is going to be able to play Navy. I suppose they could, but they would have to.
Navy would have to go independent, right? Because their conference shut down completely, right? Navy and Army and.
That's true.
The Patriots League.
Yeah, no, Navy's in the AAC.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they shut down.
No, but Army did. That's
yeah,
why
Army shut down.
There's not going to be Army.
UConn has shut down this year because they're an independent team.
No, they play in the AAC, the American.
UConn does? Mm-hmm. I thought UConn was an independent in football.
With USF and Eastern Carolina. I think Houston's in that conference.
Yeah, Navy's in the conference. Temple's in that conference. A couple of other interesting teams. Cincinnati, I think, is in that conference. Memphis,
yep.
Yeah. I'm going to be really curious to see if the Power 5 conferences are going to step away from the NCAA and say, look, this is how we're going to be doing stuff. You guys can go about whatever you want to do. There's still plenty of talk that perhaps the mid-majors and the schools in the FCS, which would include Youngstown State, would all start playing in the springtime. Now, YSU is there's no talk right now of YSU playing a spring game or spring football, which I hope that they stay on the fall. Now, the last report we had was Duquesne is a member of a conference that is out for football this year, and that they may very well go into the springtime. Now, if I'm Duquesne, I'm not so sure that I wouldn't want to play against Youngstown State in their non-conference game in September. If Duquesne is able to put together a team and scramble to get a 6 or 7 game schedule together, I don't know, maybe
cross the conference lines and say you're not playing, but we will. You know.
Yeah.
James Madison is trying it. So.
Yeah, James Madison wants to go via an independent this year. And again, I don't know if you're going to be able to schedule 11 or 12 games. Look, if Duquesne is off the schedule and Duquesne is going to say, okay, we're going to go in line and say no to whatever, could YSU call up James Madison, who desperately wants to play an independent, and say, hey, take Duquesne's place in the lineup. We'll play you guys. You guys come to YSU and we'll play you. I would love to see James Madison on the schedule.
What a non-conference game.
Oh, my gosh, that would be phenomenal.
To test yourself for the hardest conference in FCS football, to bring in James Madison in there.
I think that would be absolutely phenomenal if you were to replace a Duquesne with a James Madison. Now, the bigger question is Youngstown State going to play their game against Akron this year? I mean, who knows if Akron and the Mid-American Conference is going to do their thing.
The MAC is always, I mean, they've handled this situation kind of weirdly. I mean, they were one of the first conferences to shut down, and they decided to change their tournament, format for other sports. And so who knows what the MAC is going to do.
I know that the theme for most of the experts, and I use air quotes when I say that, the theme for most of those people is, well, the Power 5 conferences, they're going to go on and play, and we're still going to have a playoff, and we're still going to have somewhat of a bowl series.
If they break away from the NCAA, their playoff will just have to be between them.
Well, I mean, it basically is anyway.
Right, they'll have to format their own playoff, and the NCAA won't have anything to do with it.
I mean, they could probably use the.
So wouldn't it be cool to see
14 playoff?
Let's say the Pac-12, get them out of here. The four conference winners into the playoffs. Period.
You could. I mean, you could. The other part of it is the other mid-majors and FCS would play in the springtime. Well, to me, again, that doesn't make any sense, because you're going to be asking these same players to come back and play in the fall.
Especially for YSU, because I think the Horizon League might be looking to move to their fall sports this spring, because they canceled fall. Well, they basically canceled fall sports. They delayed them until October 1st. You're not going to get a season started on October 1st.
I mean, if you do, you're going to be squeezing an awful lot of games into a very tight window.
YSU would be looking at trying to run their normal spring sports, football, and then their fall sports all in the spring. They don't have the people to do that.
No. No, and unfortunately, I mean, let's take this an extra step, Anthony. I mean, we are the voice of YSU baseball.
Yep.
Okay, now, for us, Youngstown State baseball, I mean, that's a big deal. And this is supposed to be a pretty decent YSU baseball team this year. This should be an awful lot of fun. Not to say that the YSU football team isn't supposed to be decent. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. Look, if we didn't have COVID right now, I would be super excited over just about every sport Youngstown State plays in, because for the first time in quite a while, I think YSU is going to be really, really good in a lot of really, really decent sports. But if you have football playing in the springtime, all the coverage is basically going to go to the football team because football is king in college athletics. And it would be a damn shame if all of the spotlight went to the football program and hardly any spotlight went to two really good programs in the YSU baseball program and the YSU softball program.
And that's where YSN might be like,
and again, that was great, but
we wouldn't be covering the football team because we're not going to get into that door.
No, but we would not have the entire. Well, I mean, we'd have the entire spotlight, but how big would that spotlight be? Because if you're again, this goes back to the mentality
huge,
of people. Huge.
The biggest spotlight you could ever imagine.
It'll be huge. China will be envious of us. But how big, how huge would it be? Because everyone is going to want to watch football because that's how popular football is now. So yeah, I mean, it's great that we would have this spotlight, but we don't really have as big of a spotlight because you have football now in the springtime. Yeah. Not to mention the fact that if you play football in the spring, it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to get back to normal. In terms of a normal pattern of football.
You can't switch right back to fall.
No.
Not unless you started football in like January, played it until April or whatever, and then had a couple months off and then started football back up in July. That'd be the only feasible way to even try to go 2020 and then go back to normal in 2021.
How many people would be willing to sit in the ice castle in
it's
early
the ice
February?
Castle for a reason. Let's do it.
No, I understand that, but in early February, when there's a ridiculous amount of snow on the ground,
if people go to Buffalo in December, they'll go to the ice castle.
Well, there's a big difference between the NFL and college football.
If you're so excited about the team, then you should go support.
No, absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. But I also understand this is. Other than Miami, Florida.
This is Youngstown, Ohio. It gets cold in October.
No, but other than Miami, Florida, this might be the biggest city that is filled with bandwagon jumpers that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, other than Miami, I can't think of another town that has more bandwagon fans than Youngstown. It just it is what it is. Sorry, but that's my opinion, and it proves every single year to be true. And I understand the fans call in and say, well, you got to give us a reason to come out. YSU went on a championship run, and
a couple years ago,
you couldn't put 4,000 people at Stambaugh for a playoff game. That's Exhibit A. That's all I need to prove to people. So yeah, look.
Wouldn't it be fun to have ice in the ice castle?
Oh Lord,
man.
Yeah.
You can build like a little igloo in the sidelines.
I think an igloo in the corner of the end zone would be really cool, or have an igloo where the players come out. If we're going to play in the dead of winter and you got a crap load of snow on the field, or that you're shoveling off during the course of the week, okay, use that snow, make a big old igloo where they come under the tunnel and come out of this contraption onto the field. I think it would be phenomenal.
Can finally be the ice castle.
There you go. There you go. That would be a lot of fun.
But like I said, the people that John Vogel would be working like a maniac, and so.
Oh my God! All of these guys would be working double, triple, and quadruple time if you had everything condensed into one area. I mean, they'd be busier than a one-legged man at a butt-kicking contest. I mean, it'd be crazy. So, no, I don't want YSU or the Missouri Valley Football Conference or football in general to be moved to spring. I think it's an incredibly stupid idea. It wouldn't work. And if you can't play football this year because of COVID, okay. Like we talked about this in the before we went on the air. I'm not gonna say that we're soft as a society, but I had conversations with my father, who was a kid growing up in World War II, think he was a preteen when the war ended. I mean, he was like 12 when the war ended. But he remembers growing up without all kinds of different stuff because, America's involvement in World War II. And you didn't have a lot of sugar. You didn't have a lot of food. Your gas was rationed. A bunch of other stuff was rationed. You didn't have the sports, a lot of sports per se, because of America's involvement in World War II. Get over it, okay?
And remember, people that were 40 or 50 in World War II also lived through World War I.
This is
so
true.
They were like, hey, been there, done that.
Yeah.
We've been through this war. We don't like it. It sucks. We thought World War I was going to be the war to end all wars.
Yeah.
Didn't work out that way.
Look, and I bring this up because, okay, if the unfortunate happens where we don't have a fall season, okay. I mean, it sucks for the seniors. It absolutely does.
It's bad. It could get a lot worse.
But there's a whole lot of things more horrible in this world than missing a season. It's, I mean, life's going to go on. It sucks that if we don't have it, but life will go on.
And, football, it probably would mean for financial strain reasons, it might mean the temporary suspension of other athletic programs, especially in smaller schools.
Could also mean the end of the OHSAA, which...
Especially in smaller schools like
Oh,
YSN.
God, yes.
I mean, these Power 5 schools, if they don't have football, they'll be financially okay to go in.
They're going to take a hit, but they'll be okay.
Stanford will not... I mean, Stanford should never cancel any sports because they are fine.
Yeah.
Financially.
Ohio State's not going to be hurting for money if college football is canceled this year. I can promise you that. Right. Will they take a hit? Absolutely, they will. But they're not going to be on the corner begging for money anytime soon because they have a ton of money. Notre Dame is not going to be begging for money anytime soon.
Their helmets are literally made out of gold.
Yeah, well, this is true. Yeah, this is true.
How do you feel as a Notre Dame fan about a complete ACC schedule?
I'm good with it. I'm good with it for 1 year. But I think one of the things that bothered me when people started yipping and yapping about Notre Dame being a full-time ACC school and that they should be a full-time ACC school. Wait a second. They are independent for a reason. They've been independent for forever and a day. Should they join a conference? Well, I mean, if push comes to shove and they're told by the NCAA, hey, you're not going to be a playoff team unless you join a conference. Okay, now you're forced into joining a conference. But one of the things that bothered me when I heard people say, well, Notre Dame needs to join the conference. I mean, we can share the money that Notre Dame has from NBC. Well, time out a second. Notre Dame has a relationship with NBC long before the ACC conference. You don't get any of that money. And plus, the 14 teams in the ACC make more money off their share of the contracts that they have with various TV outlets than Notre Dame makes for their NBC contract.
ESPN just made the ACC network, so it's just like the SEC. I mean, they get so much money because they let the ESPN come in and make an ACC network.
Yeah. It just look, if
after
Notre
football
Dame
season, Notre Dame is a benefit of that too because they're in the ACC after football season.
Notre Dame is benefited from the ACC. There's no two ways about that. But should Notre Dame be forced to join the ACC football-wise on a year-in, year-out basis? Hell no.
Now, if the Power 5 conferences do what everyone thinks they'll do in the near future and break away from the NCAA, Notre Dame might have to.
Now, they might have to because, again, depending on their stance, they would, in all likelihood, say, okay, if each Power 5 conference has 14 teams, and 14 times 5 is 70. So you're looking at 70 teams in all of college football or college sports that separates themselves from the, quote, mid-majors. Now you would have a separate entity where the big boys, the Power 5 conference, would be Tier 1, the mid-majors would be Tier 2, and the FCS schools in Division 1 because YSU is a Division I program. It's just lower tier Division I, a.k.a. FCS. They would be Tier 3 in football. Now, my problem is if the Power 5 conferences drift away from the NCAA, is this just for football or is this for all sports? Because if it's for all sports, March Madness, is, we know it, is dead.
Yeah.
Now you would have to have 2 separate tournaments. And let me ask you this. Which tournament in March would you be more excited to see? A tournament where it's just filled with Power 5 conferences, and let's assume 14 teams in each of the Power 5 conferences. So 70 teams that have drifted away from the NCAA. Say you have a 32-team tournament or a 32-team mid-major tournament.
10 of those 32 teams are going to be in the ACC in basketball because ACC rules basketball right now. So it's almost like an ACC tournament all over again. If you take those other 32 teams out of it, I'd probably wouldn't want to watch either one of them.
Honestly, this is one of the things that we don't, or that no one has really brought up.
Because Division I in basketball, so YSU makes the tournament.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, if the Power 5 conferences drift away and say, screw you, NCAA, we're going to go about our own business, is it better for football? Yeah. Maybe. But because you've drifted away from the NCAA, March Madness is screwed. The College World Series is screwed. The College Softball World Series is screwed.
Every other sport relies on the mid-majors in their tournaments. Almost every other sport, other than football.
Yeah.
So, volleyball, your basketball, your baseball, softball, they all rely on the mixture of Power 5 and mid-major.
This is why the NCAA has to grow a set and essentially have a commissioner and change your rules on the fly and say, okay,
I vote for Mac Brown.
We're tearing up everything that the NCAA has written down in terms of probation and all this other garbage, and we're going to start making rules, and we're hiring a commissioner. And this commissioner, unlike Rob Manfred, is actually going to be someone of intelligence and someone that knows what the hell they're doing, unlike Rob Manfred, and do their job and turn this into a more than just a legitimate outlet, but an outlet that is going to give college athletics more bang for its buck than what we're currently seeing right now. I mean, hell, the NCAA can't even determine anything in terms of football this year. They're letting conferences determine that. Could you imagine Roger Goodell sitting back in New York City and telling the AFC North and the NFC West their plans for the football season?
Yeah, what if every conference in the NFL had a different idea what they wanted to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Browns and the Steelers are going to want to play their games in October, but the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Los Angeles Rams want to play their games in November.
Well, all right.
Yeah, okay. Sure, that makes sense. It's just the NCAA desperately needs someone who is going to be a commissioner.
They need a uniformity.
Yeah.
I vote for Mac Brown.
I don't have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. I just give me one person that is going to be the guy or gal in charge of this. All of the conference commissioners report to this guy, and this guy makes the ultimate decision on everything. And again, the faster the NCAA tears up whatever crap they have right now and rebuilds the NCAA on the fly, the faster everything turns out for the better. Because, and again, I don't think anyone understands the gravity of the situation of the scenario with the Power 5 conferences, because let me repeat what I said 2 minutes ago. If the Power 5 conferences say adios amigos to the NCAA, You can now forget about the bowls in college sports because all of that is irrelevant.
That's a lot of money.
It's all the playoffs are going to be in the Power 5 conference. The other conferences, the mid-majors and FCS, are going to be playing for nothing, essentially.
FCS will still have their
the FCS will have their own playoffs. You're right.
Mid-majors are screwed unless they have their own.
But the mid-majors are going to be screwed unless the mid-majors and the FCS get together and form one Division I outlet. Okay, but March Madness is toast. The College World Series, the College Softball World Series, and all of the other tournaments, history. You want this to, just so the Power 5 conference can appease their own stuff, and we're gonna sacrifice March Madness, the College World Series, and the College Softball World Series, and all the other ancillary sports championships. I don't want that. I don't want that in any way, shape, or form. That's insanity. So, NCAA, get off your ass and start doing something. Just get a commissioner with some balls.
Say something. They haven't said anything. We haven't heard anything from the NCAA in 4 months.
Say something. Get a commissioner that has the stones to bring everyone together and rip up all the archaic garbage rules that you guys have. That's it. That's all you need to do. No pressure or anything, but the Power 5 conferences are about to tell you guys to kiss off. All right, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit. Stick around.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
It is a Wednesday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline is open, 330-886-0813. We were talking about the possibility of college sports being shut down due to COVID in the fall. Let's use the remaining 10 or so minutes to talk about what I think is interesting, and that is the kids that are in college on a scholarship that may not be comfortable playing sports this year or playing their chosen sport. What's the policy going to be for the NCAA? If your kid is on a scholarship, obviously you're getting a free education, and in exchange for your free education, by and large, you're expected to play that chosen sport. Well, if that player is not comfortable to play the sport this year because of COVID-19, how does the how does the NCAA go with appeasing this person? Do they let this person continue to be on a full scholarship and you know, go back next year? Do you lose a year by being redshirted? Do you get your scholarship taken away? This is an interesting topic.
I think the fact that you slipped and said NBA is perfect, because I think they should do what leagues like the NBA, the WNBA did, and have you know, you're gonna, if you have a medical reason why you're not gonna play, you put that in front of a board, and the board will say, okay, you're medically approved that you can opt out. But if you're not medically approved, then you're not going to get a red shirt. This is, I mean, it's a sad, it's not quote unquote fair, but if you don't have a medical exemption for opting out of COVID-19 and it's just your personal choice, I'm not going to give you a red shirt for that year. I'm not going to approve you as a red shirt. You know, go out and play or don't. I know that sounds callous, but it's the thing. I mean, if you're going to have a season and you're either going to have a medical reason to opt out or you're opting out, and I feel like you're losing a year of eligibility.
Okay, so let me take this a step further, and let's say Notre Dame plays a year, and they're going to be playing their ACC schedule, and one of their players decides, hey, you know, I'm not willing to take that risk. Do you take their scholarship away from them for that 1 year?
Yeah. Just like you would take a contract out of a NFL player if they decided not to play. I mean, that scholarship is a part of an agreement. You play the sport. And you said it is. So if they don't have a medical reason why they're opting out, then, yeah, I take that year for them.
And with that being said, let's remind people, without a scholarship, you're now going to be paying for that tuition. If you're going to a school as prestigious as the University of Notre Dame, or if you're an out-of-state kid going to Ohio State, you're going to be prepared to throw about $50,000 to $60,000 into that institution for a year.
That's why, I mean, it sounds so callous and it almost sounds like they're blackmailing players into playing, but at the end of the day, I mean, you just can't let that scholarship sit there while the kid decides that he just doesn't want to play football or whatever the sport may be.
Yeah, and that's
it's the world we live in right now.
This is going to be another interesting facet of all of this that we really haven't brought up all that much. And I agree with you, Anthony. It's cold. That is cold and callous for a college to sit back and tell a kid, oh, you don't want to play for us this year? Provide a medical excuse, or I'm taking your damn scholarship away from you. That's cold. But
it happened. I mean, if you have a medical emergency and have to leave the team, they're not.
Well, yeah, you're not getting your scholarship taken away.
Mean, it's just that things happen, and it's like you said, it's cold, it's callous, but at the same time, it's something that has to be done. In my opinion.
And I think it's going to be really interesting because we got a tweet recently that the NCAA is going to establish a phone number and email to allow college athletes, parents, or others to report alleged failures of following COVID protocols.
They're doing that because of Colorado State.
Exactly.
And Eastern Kentucky's had some problems too.
Now, the NCAA is going to notify school and conference administrators who will be expected to take immediate action. Now, that's another portion of this, but if a kid outright refuses to play because he or she is not comfortable in playing their chosen sport in a COVID world, that's another that's a whole other subject.
Too. The kid might be able to appeal that their program isn't taking it seriously enough, and that might be the NCAA comes in and says, all right, you're right, Colorado State really isn't doing this right, then you can lose your year, or you can transfer somewhere, or whatever it may be. I think transfers in this world right now should be looked at as, you can transfer without penalty. Because if your program, like Colorado State, if they're doing that, and you want to play football, but you're not comfortable playing at Colorado State, you should be able to transfer in the state of the world right now.
And this is yet another reason why the NCAA needs to get their house in order. Because if you don't get your house in order, this is small potatoes compared to what's going to be happening down the road. This is absolutely craziness right now. All right, 330-886-0813. Power Hour coming up in just a bit. We're going to close up shop and preview the night in Major League Baseball. That's all coming up after this timeout. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it. Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it. Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it. And find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts. All within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it. Your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Getting set to close up shop on this Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. All right, in the major leagues tonight, the Indians are going to be back home taking on the Reds. Game 3 of the 4-game series. Antone gets his first major league starts for the Cincinnati Reds tonight. She'll be opposed by Mike Clevenger, who is the only pitcher in the first 12 games of the season not to have a quality start for the Tribe.
That being said, it wasn't a bad start.
No, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, he just gave up, 2 or 3 home runs, and that was it.
And out of all the pitchers, I think he's the most liable to give up home runs just because of his stuff and what he throws.
Yeah, he leaves too much stuff all over the plate.
Him and Cookie probably give up the most home runs ever.
He doesn't have nearly the movement Bieber has on his pitches. Last night, the Indians getting a victory, 2-run job by Franmil Reyes in the 8th inning. Does that wake up the Indians' offense?
Well, for Tribe fans, you definitely hope so. For everyone else, you're definitely hoping not, because if that lineup wakes up, it's a dangerous lineup.
Yeah, if that lineup wakes up, all of a sudden the Indians take off, because I don't see it, especially if the pitching continues, which I don't think it will.
Not to this level, but it's still going to be the best.
I mean, it's going to be solid, but not at this level.
I think end of the season, the Indians have the best rotation in the major leagues.
All right, so the Indians taking on the Reds, 7:10 first pitch. They'll be playing in front of nobody, literally.
There'll be like 2 people in there, the photographers.
Well, that's true. There, so. Yeah. Pirates are going to be playing the Twins. They're at PNC, kicking off, I believe, a 6-game homestand. Game 3 of the series against the Twins. Williams on the hill tonight for the Buccos. He's 0-2, a 5.40 ERA. This is not the same Williams that was unbelievable the second half of the 2018 campaign. Pirates have in the midst of burying themselves. They're 2-9, going up against a 9-2 Minnesota team. Does the Pirate offense show signs of life beginning tonight?
No, not against the Twins. Sorry, Pittsburgh fans.
Royals will be taking on the Cubs. Kansas City off to a 3-9 start. Cubs are off to a 9-2 start.
And it doesn't get any easier for Kansas City because they have Minnesota coming up in the weekend.
Yeah, so. Bubic on the hill for the Royals. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Cubs, and we'll see what happens there. To me, the team that I'm really digging right now are the San Diego Padres. Okay. They lost last night to the Dodgers. But the Padres are 7-5. The Dodgers are 8-4. They continue their series at Petco tonight. That
Something
should be fun.
really important for baseball happened last night. The Marlins came back and they were competitive and they won a game. And that puts to rest any idea of competitive integrity being hurt by them having to replace roster spots. I mean, they're missing 18 people from COVID-19.
Yeah.
And they were still able to put together a strong baseball game. And that's good news for baseball going ahead, because that means that this protocol of having a 60-pool player pool works. And you can put together a competitive team even if a lot of your players, and hopefully no other team has 18 players out, you can still put together a pretty competitive team. So,
by the way, the two teams that we did not expect to have really good starts have started out really good. The Miami Marlins and the Baltimore Orioles, and they can continue their series at Camden Yards tonight. Long story short, do you expect these two teams to cool off considerably?
I think the Orioles have a better chance of cooling off. I think the Marlins have just a little bit, well, actually, going into the season, the Marlins maybe. Now, since they have a roster that's put together with duct tape and Elmer's glue, they might cool off quicker than the Orioles. I like the Orioles. I like what they're doing. You know,
Cobb on the hill for the Birds tonight. Hernandez on the hill for Miami.
It'd be a feel-good story if a team like Baltimore, who had, even in this season, everyone was saying you have no chance. They're so in the basement, and they come out and make the playoffs.
I mean, now, if you can do that against the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays, look, Boston sucks this year, and I'm a happy camper because of that. But if you can win your games against those three teams, all of a sudden Baltimore might very well be a team that contends for one of the 8 spots, which coming into this season, there was no way this was going to happen.
I was making fun of Baltimore. That's how bad I was. They're not rebuilding. They're still finding construction equipment.
Yeah. Well, they found some Gorilla Glue to piece some stuff together. There you go. Let's see if Baltimore can continue to do that. They're playing Miami tonight. All right, that's going to do it for the Wednesday edition of Running Point. Coming up in a matter of moments, it is the Power Hour. We'll be back on Friday. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline will be there as well. 330-886-0813. Power Hour coming up next. Have a great rest of the day. We'll